And welcome back to the GPVWC for our Wednesday broadcast of the Supercup Challenge. Ignore what the title of the video says, or the live stream says, if you're watching on the GPVWC Sim Racing channel. It still says Formula Challenge for some reason, that needs to be changed. But this is the Supercup Championship, which is our League 2 series about, from the GPVWC. Supercup, Super League is tomorrow. This is the junior category for that, and currently topping the order is Lewis Redshaw with a 146.741, and he, in his very nicely liveried Drake racing car, are looking very, very strong so far in an attempt to move that team further up the championship, because so far they've had a pretty dodgy start to the year, and Redshaw was only able to make 2 rounds. That team is 10th in the team's championship table, so Drake needing a good result sooner or later, and Redshaw is on course for it.
Yeah, it looks like a very impressive time, although to be fair, we've seen a time from Ben Zupanek in practice that was actually even faster than Lewis is able to do so far. So I think it's not set in stone yet, but he is showing a very, very impressive pace so far. And I think that this could, and to be honest, having 3 drivers so far within a 1/10 of a second, and another one 10th behind, essentially a 10.5 behind the 3rd place, is definitely showing that we're going to have a fairly close race, and I'm really excited for this.
Of course, it always is a very exciting championship, whatever happens, and seeing as this is the first time we've been to this circuit as well, at the Baku City Street Circuit, whatever happens, it's going to raise a few fireworks, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely. It's going to be very... the track is so very tight, and it is a street circuit, so it will always bring some action, and unluckily, it always tends to come out that somebody hits that wall a bit too hard and ends up crashing a couple more people than we like. But, of course, it's the nature of street circuits. They're very difficult to drive for a reason. And some sections here are so very tight. Of course, the infamous Castle section, turn 8, if I recall correctly, is a prime example of that exact issue in terms of just circuits like this. And I still have no idea how it was allowed through to be raced in real life or in Sims.
No, to be honest, it is a very, very bad section of track. As you said, 5.1 meters wide. I said yesterday, that's like the average young man and his dad lying head to foot. It really isn't that wide at all, and imagine trying to race through that sector. That is what we're going to be doing today.
Well, we've seen in real life, as we see just Stefan Ruhl going into first with a time that I've not seen before of 146.2, an amazing time. But yes, it is a very tight section, and it's just impossible to race through. Essentially, if anybody crashes there, we're looking at somebody blocking the entire track and possibly a red flag situation. It is absolutely insane.
Well, let's hope we don't get that. The Supercup drivers tend to be a bit more well behaved than the Formula Challenge drivers we saw yesterday, but we'll see. Of course, it just takes one mistake from someone up the front of the order, and then the entire rest of the order is involved as well, so of course it's difficult. Meanwhile, Roy Schroten puts his car up into 6th position. He just went fastest of anyone in the 2nd sector. His 1st and 3rd sectors weren't quite there, but his 2nd sector was. And that's the sector with all of the sort of faster corners. So obviously Schroten's car faster through the faster corners than anyone else, and that could be definitely something to do with the setup of the car, but not quite able to match Stefan Ruhl around the rest of the track. And in fact, the 4 drivers separating Ruhl and Schroten as well, obviously just more consistent through the sectors than Schroten was on that lap. It's currently Royal leading from Redshaw, Zupanek, Lindberg, Krjalanovic, Schroten, Winnick, Brewer, Gerber, and Batala. Those are the top 10 in the session at the minute, out of the 28 drivers on the grid today.
It is actually very. It looks like we have a lot of kind of clumps in terms of drivers being in their own little bubbles as well. We can see drivers, especially between, for example, third and just about sixth, in nearly just a 1/10 of a second, and then Maciej Winnick is also in seventh, right behind. It just looks like we are going to have so much racing in around bubbles. And yeah, I'm surprised to see drivers like Maciej Winnick and actually not being higher up. We've seen him absolutely dominate qualifying in Australia and do very well still in China. So I'm actually surprised to see him so far down, especially with his teammate pulling out such an impressive lead in terms of current pole sitting, Stefan Ruold.
Well, Winnick only actually came in right at the end of official practice, and that maybe tells me that he's just come from doing something or other, and maybe he's been a bit busy this week and hasn't quite had the practice of his teammate, who is currently about 7/10 of a second faster. But I'm just speculating here; I don't know. Also, we're hearing from Mike. I believe that's Mike Quint. I'm looking on the GPVWC Sim Racing YouTube live stream, but he probably can't drive today due to massive FPS issues. We have been seeing a lot of lag issues so far this season in all three of the GPVWC categories, so that is a big shame. Wouldn't be the first time we've seen it though, but still very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. And we've of course in Super League in Australia have seen Alex Siebel fall due to somebody else having lag issues. So to be honest, I think it's fair enough that Mike Quint, if he has those issues, that he stays back, considering it could ruin other people's races. And I think that's very fair play from Mike, and hopefully he can sort it out for the next race. However, it is unluckily the state of affairs we see sometimes in rFactor 2.
Well, we've just had another quick lap coming in. I'm sure I saw someone jumping up the other. Oh, no. Oh, it was Jason Muscat, who is standing in for Matthew Marquard in his own team, the Multiforce GP car, and he has just jumped up into 10th position on that last lap. He's just coming through for another lap. Of course, Muscat has raced in this series for quite a number of years now, and obviously can't get enough of it because he's stepped in again. Lewis Redshaw has just gone fastest of anyone in the first sector. He's on a quick second sector as well. He's just posted that. That's another quick one. So Redshaw is on target for a very good lap here. This could well be pole. He's actually, ironically, getting slipstream from Stefan Rowe ahead of him. And if Rowe stays out this lap and doesn't pit, he'll be giving Lewis Redshaw a brilliant slipstream down this straight. And that is certainly not what he wants to do, because Lewis Redshaw is gaining all of the time on Stefan Rowe through this. And up to pole position goes Lewis Redshaw by 0.023. That is the time he gained from the slipstream from the man he's trying to beat.
That is actually incredible. That's a story that I think is going to be a big one afterwards as well. It's of course completely allowed to be in a slipstream of an opponent. I mean, the opponent can slow down if they're not on a fast lap and let somebody by safely, but it nearly, so basically Rules helped half unwillingly Redshaw to beat him. So this is actually a fascinating turn of events, and Redshaw could be coming out with a pole after Stefan Rules seemed unbeatable.
Well, it was certainly an incredible lap nonetheless, and what can Royal do about it? The timer has now ticked to 0, so there are no more chances for anyone to go quicker except for this one. So they're going to cross the line, and that's going to be their last chance. Antonio Krjalanovic puts his car up into 3rd position, or did on the last lap. Jack Mayer is up into 4th now. I'm sure we didn't read out his name before. So Krjalanovic in the other Drake car makes it a Drake 1-3. And he's currently on another lap, just coming through to set it now. So what can Krjalanovic do on this lap? Is it a quicker one? looks to me like he's heading into the pits, does it?
Oh, Matthew Winnick on an extremely fast lap as well. He's coming in, and he is on the final stretch. At the moment, he's actually faster than Retro after the first 2 sectors.
Is he really?
He is. And after the final sector,
he's done it.
He's done it.
First into the 145s. It's a 145.937, a brilliant lap. And Stefan Rill has come across the line and not gone any quicker than his best lap. So Stefan Rill has to settle for 3rd position and takes it away from Drake, because, of course, before it was going to be a Drake 1-3. Now they're having to settle for 2nd and 4th. And it goes Scuderia Basilia, Drake, Scuderia Basilia, Drake. And Maciej Winnick has taken pole at the last second from Lewis Redshaw, Stefan Roll, Antonio Frelinovic, Jack Nair, Bence Zupanek, Johan Lindberg, Roy Stroken, Daniel Brewer, Patrick Gerber, and then rounding out the rest of the 28 cars. Those were the top 10. Muscat, McGlade, Paisler, Bell, Tapper, Batala, Oscar, Ferreira, Downard, Tuamolo, Kumar, Fuller, Kraus, De Vries, Helpup, Lambert, Ruder, and Quint. But Ruder and Quint not setting laps there because they both have lengthy penalties after last time out, so opting not to risk a further penalty by going out into qualifying now quite sensibly. And I think there's a further penalty as well for Jean-Pierre Helpup, who will now be starting. Well, he's only going to lose 1 position through that. But anyway, that was a thrilling end to the qualifying session as Maciej Winnick jumped from 8th right up to pole position at the last opportunity.
And I have some more bits of news for you. By the looks of it, if what I'm looking at is right, Jack Mayer is 5th on the harder compound of tires.
Wow.
That is actually quite impressive, to be perfectly honest. And by the looks of it, I think his strategy is going to be go on the harder compound of tires and possibly change maybe on the softer very early on and just maybe go until the end, or stay on these tires until the very end and then try to have a bit of an impact at the end when everybody else changes onto the super soft tires. Or the soft tires anyway. By the look, because from what we've been hearing, these tires can last forever.
It's a very difficult issue a very different issue to the one we had at Shanghai. Shanghai, of course, very high degradation track. The tires were going off like butter. But here, of course, you've only really got 90-degree corners, and even the faster corners on the track are taken so quickly and so sort of flat out. You're not really scrubbing the tires at all. They're all very it's all very much on rails. So that means that the tires are absolutely fine with everything you give to them here at Azerbaijan, and that means that the drivers are going to have to be a bit more creative with the strategy. What some drivers might well do, and I was saying this before the race, is go 1 lap on the harder compounded tyre, hit the car, put on the super soft compound, and then just go straight to the end. And that, of course, would be a strategy if you want to maximise that super soft rubber. Now, as you were pointing out, Jack Mayer set that lap, we believe, on the harder compounded tyre, which puts him in a brilliant position for this race, because it shows that he's got a lot of pace here, and he can really do something very interesting with the strategy. He'll be on a completely different strategy to the other guys around him at the front of the order, and if that pays off, I'm sure that he is going to absolutely capitalise from that. Although I would say that you have to be very careful when doing a pit early strategy from the front of the field. Because that really does tend to drop you into the field behind, and if the pack behind is still struggling and still battling with each other, then that can often really hold you up. So you need to be really careful with that. But yeah, good to see that Jack Mayer's got a lot of pace here.
So before we're going on, I'd like to say that we're live on actually 3 different platforms, and that's not even it. We're live on 2 YouTube streams on simnews.tv and GPVWC, and we're also live on Twitch at simnews.tv as well as Facebook at simnews.tv. So hello to everybody everywhere, and hopefully you can join us and hopefully you're going to enjoy the stream of the wonderful races. We're probably only going to be checking the comments on probably either of the YouTube streams. I will definitely be looking at the simnews.tv comment stream on YouTube, and I will only be really checking it whenever we have some time and maybe some break from the action.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at the GPVWC Sim Racing stream now. Not so much action on the Sim News TV one yet, but on the GPVWC one, we have many names that I recognise here. Mark Veit was racing yesterday, as was Chris Shepherd. They both had a lot of pace here, so they know what it's like to be quick at a track like this. A man who knows what how to be quick in general is Mr. Coffolino. Great to see Mr. Coffolino back again. A very quick simulator racer himself. Alex Skinner, who could have or did a lot of commentary with this league last year, is in the YouTube chat as well, as is Jake Sanson, who of course commentates pretty much everything. So good to see all of you. David Yunt, another sim racer there. Lazaros Philippikos, I'm sure he's a sim racer. Craig Willard, I remember him from when I used to watch Realish Racing streams. Yeah, we got many names I recognise here, and they keep piling in. So welcome in.
Yes, so welcome everybody, and again, hopefully we're all going to be enjoying some good bit of racing, and hopefully clean racing. Now, this is going to be fairly difficult because this track is so very narrow.
Yeah, it very much is, and we saw yesterday with the Formula Challenge racing that there were a lot of drivers going out a bit disappointed because there were quite a few different incidents. On the first lap of race 1 especially, there was an accident that seemed to last about a minute. I mean, the drivers just kept on piling in, crashing across the track. It was like bumper car racing at times. And that, I'm afraid, is not what we like to see from sim racing. So hopefully we get a cleaner race today, and one which we can properly enjoy from a spectating point of view, and also for the drivers.
Absolutely, and these cars are, as we've seen this season, they're really providing some fantastic racing when it's clean. So I'm just hoping for a very clean but very close race from everybody, and a lot of clean racing from especially I'm hoping up the top, and I hope we will not know the winner until the very end of this race. And to be honest, with how close.
Yeah, carry on.
With how close everybody was, apart from, of course, the top two running away with it, I think we may be looking at some incredible, the top three. We may be looking at some incredible battles, and even then, I think the Scuderia Basilea guys will be battling for the win. With the Drake guys, it's going to be fascinating, and it's good to see two teams being higher up, since we've seen some Scuderia Basilea dominance before.
Well, yesterday, of course, or not yesterday, but 2 weeks ago at Shanghai, we saw a cracking battle between the Scuderia Basilea guys and the Green Stripes guys. But the Green Stripes guys slightly further back now, and we have Drake coming in to take their place. I was just about to say, when you said that we won't know who the winner is until right at the end, exactly the same was to be said about yesterday's Formula Challenge action for a number of different reasons. Race 2 especially was chaos the whole way through, with the original leader going wide at turn 1 and then everyone bunching up behind. There were battles for the lead the entire way through. There was a good slipstream move down into turn 1. And then as the two Red Arrow guys were switching places quite strategically, in a move that was supposed to be one giving the place to the other, our championship leader in that series, Chris Butcher, messed it all up, locked up the brakes while trying to very cleanly pass his teammate, and went into the barrier. So even the most simple looking things can end in disaster if you're not really concentrating. So yeah, we will not know who the winner is until they win it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it should be very exciting. So we'll see how it goes, and I'm still very excited to see the strategies of some drivers and how it's going to go, because again, we've seen Jack Mayer go on the harder compound of tires, and he has to start with the same compound of tires. Of course, we do have to... the first race is the longer one. It's the feature race that will be entirely of... Now I can actually see it. of 30 laps. So one mandatory pit stop. The drivers have to use both compound tires. Second race is a bit longer than a half of the first race. It's 17 laps, and it will require use of just one compound and no pit stops. So basically a feature and a sprint race. Of course, use of DRS is as per usual, a second behind another driver on the long straights, if I recall correctly.
Oh, hold on. Martin Winnick does not have pole position. Apparently, he's asked for his fastest lap to be deleted. Obviously, he believes that there was a track limits issue somehow, and it looks as if it's going to be pole position for the top Drake guy, who it was.
That was Lewis Redshaw. Lewis Redshaw.
Yeah, so Redshaw has pole. Yeah.
So that's very impressive. And of course, Matthew Winnick did go away for a few minutes to check his replay to make sure that he didn't cut, and he feels like he did. So I think he must have been either on the verge of or has cut for sure, and just doesn't want to risk back of the grid for the next race. So, well, Machi is actually going to be starting quite further back then. This is going to be very interesting to see such a fast driver having to come through.
No,
especially around the track.
He's starting from second, I believe. I believe his second fastest lap was enough for second place. He said,
no,
I believe so.
8th. Matthew Winnick is 8th. I just seen it as we grid up. Yep.
Okay, so he has been dropped further down than I thought. Well, of course, yeah, because what am I thinking? Because just as he crossed the line for the final lap, he was 8th before that. So of course, so Winnick starts 8th in this race. I'm struggling to think about where that track limit incident might have been, because there aren't many places, if you look at this track, where you could actually display the track limits. One place that I thought of initially was the inside curb at turn 8, but the drivers have all been told that if you cut that curb, the race stewards aren't going to delete your lap for it. Basically, it's such a dangerous corner. No one cares how you take the corner so long as you crash. So, or so long as you don't crash, rather. So maybe he just doesn't know that, or maybe he cut the inside curb somewhere else. We'll have to see. But anyway, Winnick starts 8th. Lewis Redshaw takes pole position.
Now, this is going to be exciting, and it's going to be so difficult on the first lap, to be honest, especially once everybody bunches up into the castle section. I'm just hoping that we go through everything safely, and our race director is also saying to have an extreme caution throughout the race, because this is going, or especially throughout the first lap, because this is going to be very difficult. And if anybody causes a crash, it's going to be to cause an incredible pileup. So we're just hoping that everyone makes it cleanly through the first lap and through the initial stages of this race, so that we do have a clean race.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always what we want to see from sim racing, a clean race. Because let's face it, the drivers have been practicing for a very, very long time. They come here to have a good race, and often to have your race ruined by another driver is by far the worst thing that can happen. So hopefully we don't get that. But we will still get a race no matter what, and well, let's sit back and enjoy it.
I think that's a good way to put it. Although, to be honest, I think we'll be leaning in our seats as we have a big battles coming in. I have a feeling like this is going to be a good one. However, something that's even more amazing is now Jack Mayer is starting on the harder compound from 4th. He actually got 4th in qualifying, which is quite amazing for somebody on the harder compound tires.
Oh, goodness gracious, he's on the second row of the grid, directly behind the leaders. If he gets a good start, I've often seen 4th place kind of slot between the two leaders and lead into turn 1. Can you imagine just a whole field of super soft sporting drivers running around behind one driver on the harder compound? That would be quite something.
That would be something I haven't seen in a very long time in Supercup, that's for sure. Over the last couple of seasons, of course, the tires are a lot different than they are now. These cars are completely different to what I was there, especially last season. And the tires are much more interesting and intricate. And to be honest, it's causing some incredible racing so far this season. And I'm just hungry for more. As we get off the line, we have the leading Lewis Redshaw off the pole and Stefan Ruolt in second. Third for Antonio Hreljanovich. Also great stuff from both Drake drivers. Jack Mayer on the harder compound tires. He is starting in 4th place in the 2nd row. Amazing stuff in qualifying from him. Ben Zupanek, a bit slow, disappointing after his practice run in 5th. 6th for Johan Lindberg. And 7th for Roy Schroten. In 8th place, the driver who did get a pole provisionally is Maciej Młynek. Of course, he decided to drop back. He felt he cut the track and doesn't want to back up the grid for next race. Daniel Brewer in 9th place with 10th for Patrick Gerber. 11th for Jason Muscat, and 12th for Lewis McGlade. 13th for Bastian Peisler, even. 14th for Mike Bell. 15th for Dowie Tapper. 16th for Jared Batalla. 17th for Adam Oscar. 18th for Bruno Sosa. 19th for Josh Downard. 20th for Niranjar Kumar. Michael Tomala in 21st. 22nd for Mark Fuller. And 23rd for Patrick Krause, with Gerrit de Vries in 24th, 25th for James Lambert, 26th for Jean-Pierre Helpap, although he will be taking a start from the pit stops. He may have broken some park farmer rules, and the same thing for Mike Fint. Fabian Rude in 28th is going to be starting from the grid slots, and it could also be a tactical play from 26th and 27th place, considering it can be a carnage, and it could make it easier for them to get through the first corner.
I tell you what, that's exactly why they've done it. They've pitted because they're scared of what happened yesterday in Formula Challenge happening again. They feel that it would be better to just give themselves that buffer to make sure they don't go ploughing straight into the carnage ahead of them if it occurs. And that could be a very good decision. So I remember seeing a couple of people doing that in the ITC race at Adelaide last season, simply because they knew that there was going to be a pile-up on the first lap, and I think there was in all 3 races there, so it does pay off sometimes, and hopefully it won't have to today, but often better to be safe than sorry. So it is the Drake team, after all, who take the best overall qualifying positions in this qualifying session. They are 1st and 3rd with just one Scuderia Basilia car separating. We thought that the other one of Maciej Młynek would come into play in the qualifying session, but obviously his lap he doesn't feel was fair. So Młynek lines up from 8th on the grid, and it's going to be Lewis Redshaw who lines up in 1st position.
Yes, and it's very interesting. The first place starters or the odd number starters are on the outside of turn 1, which makes it even more possible for Jack Mayer to maybe attempt something on Hreljanovich at the very least. And this is going to be fascinating. And I am just absolutely buzzing to see what's going to happen. I'm just hoping for a safe race. However, this is going to be very exciting with such a big grid.
So the last car is in place now. We're just waiting for the lights to come on. Yep, here they come. So we've got 3, 4, 5. And it's go here in Baku, in Azerbaijan. And Redshaw gets a good start. He pulls over and defends from Ruhl, who's forced to the outside line. Redshaw has it at turn 1. What has happened to Ruhl? He stopped. He braked. He braked on the exit of turn 1. Something terrible has happened. Batalla rolls. And there is a huge pile-up. Didn't we all see that coming? But that looked entirely like Stefan Ruhl just slammed on the brakes. What on earth happened there?
I have no idea. That's exactly what it looked like to me. It was absolutely mind-boggling what happened there. It just looks like on the exit, he completely slammed on the brakes and nobody had anywhere to go. And at this point, I urge you to look on 2nd place because Jack Mayer is there chasing Redshaw.
Whoa, what a start that was. And I have absolutely no idea what happened. It was just like, I mean, that must have been a glitch or something. It was. Oh, that's a wheel disconnection, surely. I've just had a look at Rod's onboard camera. That looks very much like his wheel disconnected. It did that sort of cross over the control sort of thing that we used to see from wheel disconnection. So that would be a horrible, horrible situation for the whole field. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did see many drivers complaining after the race that there wasn't a red flag. Jack Nair, interestingly, has started on the softer compounded tyre. Now, we thought it was on the harder one. Maybe he did set his lap on the softer compound and then switch to the harder for some weird reason. But anyway, Jack Nair is on the softer compounded tyre and is running in 2nd place. He now has a slipstream on Lewis Redshaw ahead. Can he go for a move down into turn 1? Let's see.
So it must have been a glitch at some point then from because he had to start on the same tire he qualified on. So it must have been a glitch that I've seen earlier. However, Jack Mayer is putting up a fight, and Lewis Redshaw is only. I have no idea how he gained a little bit of an advantage here because he has been under so much pressure. They've been basically wheel to wheel at one point.
Well, yeah, Mayer not quite able to get past Redshaw just then. He was certainly close. It's actually Johan Lindberg in 3rd place now, followed by Ben Schupanek. Maciej Winnick climbs 3 places to 5th. Then it's Roy Schroed and Patrick Gerber. Jason Muscat, Bastian Peisler, Lewis McGlade, Patrick Trace, Josh Downard, James Lambert, Mark Fuller and Adam Oscar in the points. And then outside of the points, De Vries, Tuamola, Kuma, Quint, Pelpap, and in the pits, Frelanovic, Bell, Brewer, Sousa Ferreira and Rude. And out of the race, Rohr and Tapper. So 2 big names taken out on the first lap.
That's very, very big names, all right, and it's incredibly unlucky, especially if it's that if Rule had nothing to do with it, which it very much looked like some kind of wheel disconnect or something happening where he had absolutely no control, which makes it for a very sad beginning to this race. However, I think we're going to still get some amazing racing, and hopefully we're going to see most of the drivers back and fighting for the next race. Anyway, we of course anything can happen, and at that point, and we let's hope that this is the last we've seen of massive pileups. But that was absolutely insane, and I presume that that was on the verge of cancelling the race or on red flagging the race.
Well, I tell you what, there'll be many drivers confused as to why the race wasn't red flagged there. But anyway, we continue for the time being. It is a big shame to see so many drivers' races being completely ruined immediately, simply through someone else's issues. Of course, there was absolutely nothing that anyone in the field could have done about flying into the back of Stefan Rohr after his car, for reasons we don't believe were his fault, suddenly slammed on the anchors and just stopped in front of the rest of the field. Now look at Maciej Winnick, who took a look there at Ben Schupanek for 4th position. That's one battle that might well change position soon. They are chasing Johan Lindberg for the final podium position.
Now, interesting. I'm just looking at the championship standings currently, and Stefan Ruhl, of course, is our championship leader, and he is not going to be getting any points out of this race. Osvaldo Angelone is not racing this time around. We have Roy Schroten being the first driver who can score points in the standings, and he's 14 points behind the leader, which means that if he won this race, and it's the same thing for Daniel Brewer, but I don't think we have Daniel Brewer anywhere, do we? No, he was involved in the crash at the start of the race. So at the moment, Roy Schroten looks like the only person who has even a shot at gaining championship lead after this race, because Maciej Winnick is 26 points behind the lead.
Well, there's certainly going to be a big shake-up of the order in the championship after this round. Ben Schupanek has just taken 3rd place from Johan Lindberg, and Lindberg is now under attack from Maciej Winnick as we head out onto the straight. So the bottom podium position has changed. Now 4th position looks like it'll change as Maciej Winnick gets a great run on Johan Lindberg. He's passed him even before the start-finish line, even before the pit entry. Will Lindberg be able to dart out and go for a move? Oh, he's missed his braking, actually, going very wide. He's going to be under attack from Patrick Gerber before long if he's not careful.
That is very much true, and he is basically under attack now. I'd say he's going to be able to run away, to be perfectly honest with you, because he seemed to have a bit of more of a pace. But definitely Gerber will have the advantage of being so close and being able to use DRS at this point.
Well, I'm sure that when it comes to strategy, it's not really going to be very much thought of. It's going to be about drivers pitting as late as they possibly can, except if they're involved in an accident, surely, like James Lambert just was. Lambert has just been into the pits. He was running in 14th position and then spun it out of turn 10, that is, into the wall on the inside, all by his own fault, I'm afraid to say. And he is now dropping down the order like a stone as he had to pit for a new front wing.
So we have confirmation now from Stefan Ruhl that his wheel has died just after turn 1, which means that I don't think he'll be able to race after this race. So he's out of this weekend, and he's more than likely going to lose his championship lead. And this could prove very difficult to possibly even replace the wheel in 2 weeks. I'm not sure about Stefan's ability, but he will definitely be hopefully trying to come back in 2 weeks. But he'll be in a lot more difficult of a situation than he was before the start of this weekend. Or
well,
this
it depends.
racing.
It depends what sort of wheel issues it was. He says it just quit on him, but I've had my wheel just quit on me and then be fine for race 2. Of course, it will add an extra level of tension as to whether it'll happen again or not. Patrick Gerber has just passed Johan Lindberg for 5th position. It was a good old slipstreaming manoeuvre down the start-finish straight. So the top 5 has now had another change in it. But, oh no, never mind, that's me reading it wrong. Gerber is still ahead. So that means the top 5 now are Redshaw, Mayer, Zupanek, Winnick and Gerber.
So at the moment, it's looking like we still have, again, as I said, I think we're going to have a bit of like battle clumps, essentially battle bubbles in this race. And it very much looks like it at the moment. Between first, second, there's not that big of a gap. Although Lewis Redshaw at the moment is starting to run away a little bit. Ben Zupanek is in a close quarter scum battle with Maciej Winnick, essentially, and I think that's a very fitting description around the corners they just went through, turn 8, of course, being the castle section. Patrick Gerber is running away from Johan Lindberg, so that is still technically a battle, and they're still less than a second away from each other, but it's looking less and less likely. However, Roy Schroden is now having a look at Johan Lindberg, and Johan Lindberg goes into a wall slightly. This could provide a crucial overtaking chance from Roy Schroden onto the start-finish straight.
Lindberg dropping like a stone, I'm afraid. He was 3rd in the race before long. Not long ago. He's dropping though. I was just checking his onboard to see if he had damage or something, but it doesn't appear he does. But anyway, here comes Schroden now as we head down the start-finish straight. Last year's 2nd place driver from the Formula Challenge Championship, as Zupanek and Winnick go side by side, and Winnick gets 3rd. So Winnick up into 3rd position now, and Schroden gets Lindberg for 6th.
Schroden getting up there, and of course, as I said, he's the only driver at the moment who has even a shot at going into the lead of the championship at this point after this race. Of course, there are 2 races today, so we'll see how that goes. However, he is getting up there, and I think Maciej Winnick is possibly going to be now running up to Jack Mayer, and it's going to be a couple nice little battles again. Roy Schroden, I wonder if he can catch up to Gerber, and it'll be interesting to see him be able to go up. As we have Patrick Kraus, somehow, I think just straight disconnected? Oh no, he crashed. Crashed in turn 2.
Yeah, he is out. I'm afraid James Lambert is also out in a separate instance, so a couple of retirements. We were expecting some, of course. I'm just watching the onboard from Patrick Kraus, who was running in 10th position, got on the curb, locked up the rear axle, spun the car into the inside barrier, and obviously that's just done too much damage. His car is out of the race.
I'd urge you to look at 1st, 2nd, and 3rd right now. Lewis Redshaw is starting to lose pace, and he is now being absolutely shadowed by Jack Mayer, who's only less than 3/10 behind, and is going to be attempting a move, possibly on a start-finish straight. However, Lewis Redshaw seemingly having a great straight line speed, and Mayer possibly being reeled in by Winnick, who may be going to 2nd.
Oh, look at this. We've got 3 people in the slipstream here. We have an absolute accordion effect. They're all getting closer to each other. Winnick and Mayer go side by side for 2nd. Winnick to the inside. Mayer tries to hold on. Look at that. That's brave. Winnick gets a big slide and somehow keeps the place. So Winnick up into 2nd position now. Mayer drops to 3rd, but there's still going to be more opportunity to pass Redshaw, I'm sure. He does appear to be dropping back a bit now towards Winnick and Mayer behind him.
I'm not surprised to see Winnick go so fast. Again, we've seen him do so well in qualifying with that cut, and luckily making him cancel his lap time. But now he has an opportunity for even a win. And I think that he is definitely, at the moment, the favorite. Because Lewis Redshaw has been losing a bit of pace. And we've seen that from Jack Mayer. Maybe even Jack Mayer can utilize it, all this situation with Winnick, to maybe even have a look at Lewis Redshaw. This will be a fascinating little battle. And I'm just really wondering if Winnick is going to do it on the straight, or if he's going to be able to do it right here, because Redshaw is making mistakes. Now Winnick to the outs. He's done it.
Yeah, Winnick gets it at a part of the circuit we don't normally attribute to overtaking, but it looked as if Redshaw made an error. It looks, yeah, he had a big slide mid-turn 10, and Winnick just got the better run and popped through before the very fast turn 11. So Maciej Winnick now leads this race in the Scuderia Brasilia car after starting 8th on the grid. This has been a great race so far from Winnick. He's kept clear of all the trouble caused by the wheel disconnection from his teammate Stefan Rupp. And Winnick now leads this race. He's going to try to salvage something for Scuderia Brasilia, who I believe lead the Teams Championship.
Just look at Redshaw coming in through like an absolute train. So fast. Can he actually equal out? Or even out with
Maciej Winnick spins. Mayer just locked up the rear and spins the car around. Jupinek goes back up into 3rd. Gerber goes up into 4th. And Mayer's dropped to 5th. What's Schroten? Schroten gets to the inside. He's surely going to ease through on the brakes. They get so close. Mayer keeps it around the outside. Now they both have DRS, I think. Actually, I think only Mayer does, because Schroten was... Do either of them? Well, whatever. They're certainly still in jeopardy. Schroten takes a look. Mayer holds on for now, but how are his tyres after that spin? I said that the tyres were hanging on very well, but when you slide them sideways, of course, they get ground into the ground, and that can often really, really put massive flat spots on them, and they gradually get less and less drivable. He's hit the wall. He's hit the wall, and now look at Schroten. He's back in the attacking pose to the inside. That's a difficult one. Mayer gives him room, but gets the drive around the outside. That's where the grip is there. And Mayer keeps the position for now, but he needs to stop making errors like that one.
Yeah, to be honest, even if Schroten could keep it around on the inside that was coming into the castle section, I don't think there was much chance for Schroten to go through Mayer right there. But yes, Mayer has to stop making mistakes, has to ease off and cool his tires, and then try to get back into his groove and go faster than Schroten. However, Schroten seems to be seems to be about the same pace as Mayer, so I think this is going to be a fairly difficult task for Mayer right now.
Oh, absolutely. He's lost a couple of places, but he's dropped back a little way from where he should be. So certainly still a lot of ground to be gained now from there. And look at Gerber going to 3rd on the inside of Ben Schupanek. So Gerber tries to leave his braking later. Ooh, was there slight contact there? Ooh, now there certainly was. Schupanek very forceful on the defence. But Gerber still on the inside, and Schupanek holds on. So Schupanek 3rd place still. But Gerber again has the DRS as we head down the straight between turns 2 and 3. He activates the DRS a bit late there, but doesn't quite get close enough. And now Schroten goes from there. Up the inside, and there leaves him room. That was close. Mayer's going to have the inside line for turn 4, and he keeps the place. But
the undercut.
Switch back. He's not in a good position for this next corner, is he? Mayer still on the inside. Schroten, big kick of oversteer. And now let's see if Lindbergh can capitalise.
This is going to be fascinating. Lindbergh, of course, being overtaken earlier by Rose Schroten. Now with Schroten attacking Mayer, they're both losing time. This is always the case when you're battling. When you're battling so hard, you both lose time. So this is going to be fascinating. However, it seems like Schroten and Mayer have been doing a very nice, clean battle, which is very difficult around tracks like this. However, Mayer is absolutely not giving an inch more than he has to for Schroten to go through. It's very, very difficult to go through somebody who's driving defensively so well.
Again, side by side for 3rd, and Gerber has forced Schupanek to take a tight defending line onto the final sector. That's given Schupanek a bad run, and Gerber's going to be right with him here. Schupanek goes defensive, pulls out of the slipstream early, but has to give it back to Gerber now as we head down the start of the straight. Gerber's going to have the DRS on top of all of this. He heads to the inside line, and Schupanek is not able to defend now. Look at Gerber, he's coming through like a train, But as they break, who's going to get it? Jupinek tried to move across, but Gerber got it, and now in the background, Schroeter is going around the outside of Jack Mayer. Does he finally put that one off? No, of course he doesn't, because Mayer is still fighting for it. Now is it stopped? No, because Mayer's still there on the inside. Lindbergh gets a bit squirrely out of turn 2, but Mayer and Schroeter have been side by side for 2 corners so far, and 2 straights on top of that, 3 straights down into the left-hander, and still they're side by side. Still there's an overlap. Schroeter on the inside, but who really cares? These two could drive side by side for months. Mayer stays ahead.
That's some of the most impressive driving I've seen in a very long time. Absolutely incredible awareness from both drivers, pushing so hard, trying at every opportunity. They done the one mistake could cost them both a 1 or even 2 positions. But this fighting is absolutely immense, and I'm actually enjoying it so very much. Schroeter getting undercut on Mayer and actually doing it. I think he's gonna have it. He's on the inside of the next corner, which and he has done it finally. Now Mayer, can he overtake on the DRS? He will have the DRS now on the main straight. Now, can he do it? Can he get that place back? He now has to worry about Lindbergh behind him. This is going to be very, very close. Coming on out of the final 90-degree corner, essentially. And now Schroeter going completely sideways. Somehow Mayer not being able to go back. I think just barely avoiding hitting Schroeter. And now Mayer has to more worry about Lindbergh than anything else.
Well, I just had another look at the move which Schroeter pulled on Mayer. He's finally got it as Mayer touched the wall. But anyway, now they're going 3 wide with Lindbergh as well. Down the start-finish straight. Look at this. Very nearly. And Mayer is trying to go around the outside of Schroeter. He just seems to find the traction wherever he goes. And he's now still on the outside of Schroeter. This could turn into a battle. Just like last lap's one, there was a big lock-up from someone. And they're back in the DRS zone. Remember that Lindbergh will have it too. And this group is all dropping back towards Jason Muscat now. But, oh, there's a crash up ahead of them, and that's a car a lap down. I believe that's Bruno Cesar Ferreira. It is. They all avoid him, but Mayer locks up and goes into the back. And look at Muscat. Muscat locks up, and he goes into the back of Lindbergh. There's a huge pile-up. Muscat's gone straight on down the escape road, and that is dreadful. No one there was obeying the yellow flags in the slightest, except for Roy Schroeter, and that's why Mayer went into the back of him, and that's why Muscat went into the back of all of them, because no one was respecting that there was a car stopped at the side of the track there. I hope penalties come from that.
That is definitely a very, very scary moment, and I honestly think a lot of drivers always forget that yellow flags are a thing, and to be honest, I can see that in rFactor too. It's quite difficult, and often you see very false yellow flags, and it's a bit difficult to judge. However, when you have somebody go sideways in a corner, you need to be more careful. You should see something as big as that happening. And now, Jack Mayer, I think, got hit by Muscat going through after Mayer made a mistake as well. And by the looks of it, it's just looking like Mayer now has to fight. Lindbergh has to hit the wall.
Oh, surely that's done damage. That was a big hit. His steering is hanging, and that looks like it's going to be a very difficult car to drive. Now he's still in the slipstream of Johan Lindbergh, but as he breaks into the next corner, how's the car going to feel? Let's see. So he's up the inside of Lindbergh, but he backs off very sensibly. Doesn't want to risk overdriving a car that he doesn't know effectively, now that he's hit the wall again. We just had a very forceful move turn a bit sour for the final points paying position in 15th. Trelanovic kind of tipped Adam Oscar into the barrier. Trelanovic has that place for now, but Oscar won't be very pleased about it. It just seemed like Oscar didn't really know he was there, so maybe not really his fault. Bruno Cesar Ferreira now pits, and out of the race has gone Gerard Batalla, so that's our latest retiree, if that's the word for that.
At the moment, it's looking like Maciej Młynek is running away with it. Nearly 4 seconds in front. As I hear somebody hitting some wall now. Let's see. Oh, it's Tomala in currently 14th. He has lost the front wing. Let's see what happened there. He's, I think, overcooked it. Yes, he overcooked it, and Quint nearly drove into him. In the same corner, we just seen Sosa blocking the road, and it was very, very close from Fuller and from Finn, both nearly driving into Twomala. And now he has to drive half a lap without a front wing, and around here, it's not very easy.
No, absolutely not, especially when you've got such long braking zones. It's very difficult to judge just how early you do have to brake, and however slowly you think you're going, you should always be going slower as you enter a corner.
Yeah, it's definitely a very difficult situation, especially what you'll find is a lot of locking up, and I really wonder if he can make it through the very fast corners coming up to the on a very long straight, because this is these are very sharp corners, deceptively so. Through coming up through the final start-finish straight, it seems like one straight because you're always on throttle, but only when you have grip. And you only have grip if you have a front wing, and this he did go through safely, thankfully, but it's a very tricky situation.
Now, I've just been pointed out that we have the first of the proper pitters. Mayer and Lindberg are both in, trying to get the jump on the drivers around them, on Roy Schroten especially. They're now on the harder compound of tyre, and Josh Downard now has passed Jason Muscat for 7th position. Now, Matthew Allington points out something very sort of truthful in the GPVWC Sim Racing live stream chat. He says that he likes to think that Johan Lindberg was respecting the yellow flags, but he just got rammed as he braked for Jack Mayer, making a mess of it in front of him, and then Muscat just steamed in. That is entirely true. It seemed as if there were two drivers there respecting that there was a car parked in an awkward position, and there were two drivers that very much weren't, and then they all came together as a result. That sort of thing needs to be clamped down on in sim racing.
Yes, absolutely. The problem is, again, in rFactor 2, the yellow flags are very often quite difficult to spot when you're driving at full speed. They're not very... We don't see a big icon usually or anything like that to let us know we're in the yellow flag zone, and usually it's about something that has absolutely no impact on you, or as long as it's not even in your sector. So it's something that's a little bit difficult to spot. However, if you have somebody who's spun in front of you, you should know that you need to slow down. But a lot of the time drivers don't, because they feel like it's too much of a competitive disadvantage at that point. But it's hard to believe.
It's a bigger disadvantage if you knock someone else and end up getting a penalty or losing your front wing. But,
absolutely.
Anyway.
Absolutely, but it's just I think it's something that sim racing drivers just don't really pay attention to nearly as much as in real life drivers would.
Of course, unfortunately so. But anyway, let's see. It's all about strategy now in this race. It's all about when the next group of drivers are going to be pitting. Johan Lindberg is in again. Now, why is that? Because Lindberg was in last time around. Now, what has happened to Johan Lindberg? Maybe he did something wrong? Oh, I tell you what it was. I tell you what it was. He started on the softer compound. No, am I getting this wrong?
No.
I think he started... Oh, he started on the super soft, and he's gone onto the soft, so that's all.
I think that looked to me like it was nearly some kind of a penalty, or something happened because he was waiting in the pits for a very long time. So I have actually no idea what happened there exactly.
It could well have been a stop-go for speeding in the pits last time around, if he didn't slow down in time, or if he took his pit limiter off slightly too early, or something like that. I've seen it happen in the past, so I reckon that was probably the case.
And yeah, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, because his car got lifted. Actually, did get lifted up, like as if he was changing tires as well. So I'm not entirely sure,
doesn't it?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I've never had a penalty in these cars or really driven them. So, yeah, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But that would very much make sense, as we have Patrick Gerber, Ben Stupanek, and Roy Schoten all in the pits. All going onto the harder compound of tires, and definitely going until the end of the race.
Well, it's interesting that we see so many drivers pitting at pretty much halfway through the race, because I was told before the race that these tires were going to last for this time and more, and therefore it would just be beneficial for a lot of drivers to go as far as they could on the softer compound of tyre, and then switch over to the harder. But maybe I was misled.
Gert de Vries is in a wall currently, and he's out.
Okay, yep. Character free or character freeze has had a retirement. Now where has that happened?
That was a very odd crash. Lost in an easy, very fast corner. Just going up the curb and hitting a wall at a very high speed.
Oh yeah, that was. He just got onto the curb on the inside, lost control, went into the wall on the outside, bounced along the barrier and went very hard into the... That was like Max Verstappen at Monaco 2015. Very much similar, and a big impact, putting him out of the race and making him our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th retirement.
Well, that's not fantastic, and we have another pitter in the shape of Adam Oscar a bit further down. However, it is a pitter, and
Jack Mayer's in the wall. Jack Mayer has stuffed it again, and that's with his teammate Mark Fuller. Fuller has lost control of the car, and he's just gone into the wall on the inside of turn 7, and his teammate Jack Mayer has gone into him. Absolutely no time to react for Jack Mayer, and as a result, he's just ended up getting involved in someone else's accident, and that is bad luck for that team. What team's that again? That's the ST Racing team.
Yes, and I think Matthew Allington is having put it perfectly. This is going to be an extremely awkward debrief. I think that's the case for most drivers, as Mayer just goes past Fuller again on the track now, and oh my gosh, now
I think
this is
turned
from a fantastic...
Matthew Allington's got the ST team boss.
No, but I mean, he's just said that it's going to be an extremely awkward debrief.
Oh yes, general, yeah, it will be, yeah.
Yes, but Jack Mayer did just overtake his Mark Fuller, and this is not looking great for this team. It looked fantastic. It looked fantastic for about half of this race, and now it's turned into a nightmare as Mayer going for the softer component tires, trying to do his best.
So, as you said, into the pits, well, both of the ST guys after that unfortunate incident, and we're still waiting for our leader, Macho Winnick, and a lot of the other guys up the front of the order to make their pit stops. Did Redshaw pit? Yes, he did. So Redshaw's made a stop. He's now behind Bastian Peisler, who has stayed out. So Peisler and Winnick, the two drivers up the front of the order, yet to pit. And those two might well be trying to leave it out as late as they possibly can.
We have our leader in pits. He's going to be going onto the harder component tires, of course. It is a requirement by the rules in the series. And he is more than likely going to be coming back in the lead without losing too much. And currently in second is Bastian Peisler, but I think he has not stopped yet. Has he?
No, Peisler has not yet stopped. He's going to take the lead of the race briefly. No, he isn't, because Winnick is next in the pits now. Peisler, I believe, is our only guy yet to make a stop. Some of the guys near the back haven't made a stop in a while. They pitted near the start due to damage. What's that?
Jason Muscat has not stopped either. Lewis McGlady also yet to stop, and Mike Fint is also yet to stop. And yes, he's in now. We also have Antonio Hrdljanovic, who is... Oh, he has stopped on the first lap. Jack May, of course, having the issue. And Mike Bell did the stop on the first lap as well. Now look at him. And it seems like, yes, indeed, there are about 3 drivers who are yet to stop for the first time.
No, an interesting point that Mike Pitman brought up is that Mark Fuller and Jack Mayer were not allowed to stop at the same time. So that held up Mark Fuller even more than it otherwise would have done, as he had to wait for Jack Mayer to leave the pit lane. So bad luck for the ST guys, but I'm afraid Mark Fuller's only got himself to blame for locking up the rear axle in such a way. But it's an easy mistake to make. I tell you, I was racing on the server earlier. I did that 3 or 4 times. It is very easy.
Well, whenever I hear that, though, it always I always like to remind you that it's all about brake bias. If you want to go faster, all the drivers put their brake bias way back on the car, and that usually locks up the rears, and it's always a bit dangerous. So, to be honest, if you lock up the rears, it's completely and entirely your fault. And it may be easy to do so, but an easy way to counteract that is to change brake bias, and that's my position always when anybody locks up the rears.
True, but the drivers always run it so tight, taking all of the risks they can, because, well, they just need to extract the maximum from the car, and often you overstep the line and just sort of tip the car into a spin like that. But yeah, as you said, it's not exactly an excuse.
And we have Lewis Retshaw in the pits, another driver coming onto the harder compound tires for the first time this race. And he is going to be probably coming out in around 11th place or so. Possibly.
And we've had an incident. Apparently, Josh Downard has been into the barrier, and he is now pitting. So Downard, who was doing very well, running near the top of the order, has had some sort of incident. He was 9th on track, but I believe he would have been running about 6th or 7th effectively. And he's just pitted without his front wing. Now, where did that happen? I believe we've already seen it on the stream, seeing as Mike Pitman, our cameraman today, alerted me. Oh, I tell you what happened there. He just locked up the brakes heading into the braking zone of that tight corner before where Vettel ran into Hamilton and slid along the inside barrier, which bounced him into the outside wall. Very similar to Sherrick Reese's retirement.
Now. Let's see. So there's this massive gap now that I'm seeing between that form between 7th and 8th place. This is actually kind of interesting how we have, again, these massive bubbles, essentially, of drivers fitting in. As we hear some kind of a contact with a wall. Now I just need to see who it is.
Okay, well, here comes the mad dash back through the order. It's Downard again. He's missing his front wing again. And what's happened there is he's locked up again. It's pretty much exactly the same thing. There must be something wrong with that car. It looked actually, he was weaving around. Oh, it looks as if he's still got a rear. He's got something wrong on the rear there. It looks as if the rear right was just not responding. I'd say his suspension is completely trashed there, and he's been into the wall again. And I'm very surprised he's still. Oh, he's out. Yeah, quite wisely that.
Out there, a battle for 2nd place currently between Lewis Retshaw and Bastian Peiser. Now I think Peiser has yet to pit.
Yeah.
Lewis Retshaw just went straight through Bastian Peiser, and we unluckily missed that, or I missed that accident anyway. And or not accident, but that overtake. But yes, it looks like Downard is having to park it at this point, and well, it just looks like whenever you do damage your car, it's game over essentially. At this, in certain ways, especially if it's so hit the wall so hard as Downard has.
Well, his braking was just so wonky as he went down into turn 2 that time. The rear right was looking very
and we have
dented.
We have about 4th place between Zupanek and Gerber, yes.
So Gerber ahead of Zupanek for 4th position. Zupanek setting up for the long run down towards turn 1 here. And looks as if he gets a better exit than Gerber, so that is going to be a good slipstreaming opportunity down the start-finish straight. It's very difficult to follow the car through those long sweepers, though. The car ahead, because they throw all of their turbulent air at you. And now we've had a bit of a lag issue. I can't see where Zupanek went. Oh, he's back with us now, and he's side by side with Patrick Gerber heading down towards turn 1. He's passed him before the braking zone, but Gerber sticks his nose back in, and Zupanek locks up and goes wide. He had a big slide there. Gerber back on the inside and goes back through to 4th position.
Jason must get pits, but yes, that's not the way to overtake Benz. You need to do it cleanly, and you need to brake in time. That's a major component of overtaking somebody, and I think Benz knows better. Next time he does try a move on Gerber, it hopefully will be without outbraking himself.
Yeah, it's easy to do, but as you said before, that's no excuse. So Zupanek still stuck behind Patrick Gerber, and he has to try the exact same thing next lap, but do it right. Because, well, let's face it, he had the position. He just then stuffed up the braking.
Yes, he was already there. It was just literally him being worse on the brakes. And of course, when you're on the outside, the way that, of course, you race is you usually have to brake a little bit. It's interesting. It can be a bit later, a bit earlier. It depends on the top of the corner. But here it seems like you have to brake around the same time as the inside, or maybe even a little bit later, or earlier even. It's just very difficult to judge whenever you don't have the entire track to play with, because you are after all, limited in your play space essentially.
So I'm just watching them coming down through the final sweepers again. It looks as if Jupanek has dropped back a bit in that, so I don't know that he's going to be as close as he was last time around on his rival Patrick Gerber this time. He's certainly still getting the slipstream from him, and he certainly will still get the DRS. But as plays Lapitz in the background, Jupanek is still going for it. He tries to force the issue, but that was never going to work, and Gerber stays ahead for now.
Bastian Pfizer on the harder component tires now, so he's going to be coming out in front of Muscat in 6th. So Bastian Pfizer are doing a very good job this race, to be perfectly honest, and putting so late and doing a very good job to keep those softer component tires working for long enough that he could easily race the entire race, the sprint race, on those tires. So I'm now interested to see if everybody's going to go for the softer component tires or the harder component tires for the long race.
I think it would be a bit weird not to go for the softer component tires in race 2.
We've seen it in Australia and we've seen it in China.
Yeah, the soft component tire is certainly going to be the one to be on for race 2. This track is not a particularly tire-weary circuit, and if you can go 20 laps, very nearly 21 laps on the softer compounded tire, then you can certainly do the sprint race. That's about what the sprint race is, I think.
17.
17 for the sprint race. Okay, so yeah, that should be easy peasy, lemon squeezy, so long as you don't have a spin and smash the tyres further.
Absolutely, and it just very much depends on how well a driver can handle the tires. Some drivers are, of course, a lot better at being smooth under tires, and smoothness is the key point of making sure that the tires last you long enough. And you just have it can lead to you being quicker as well, which is very interesting. That sometimes you may not even have to compromise to be better on tires. It's always very interesting to see, and a good driver will always be fast and safe tires.
Latest incident report, Jean-Pierre Helpap has pitted again with what looks like heavily hanging steering. He coasted into the pit lane. I don't think any power was going to the car as he went down the pit lane there. So there's been another incident for Jean-Pierre. He switched back onto the softer compounded tyre and has gone out onto the track now, and there is no power going to the car. So whatever happened, he's back in the race but out of the points.
As Antonio Hreljanovich just retires, now let's see what happened there. It looks like a straight disconnect.
Oh dear, disconnects. I hate disconnects. He was running quite high up in the order as well. He was 8th position, and all of a sudden, he wasn't.
By the looks of it, yes, it is a disconnect, as I'm hearing from our cameraman, Mike Pitman. But yes, that's such a bad news. We're 2/3 through this race, and losing out on what was a pretty strong points finish is going to be an absolute, not a disaster, but a sad moment in this race for Antonio Hreljanovich and the entire Drake team.
Yeah, it would have been a very good day for Drake. They, of course, qualified 1st and 3rd, and then Hreljanovich got caught out in the opening incident with Stefan Rott, as Rott had a wheel disconnect, and well, from then on it's been a case of recovering from Antonio Hreljanovich, which he has done brilliantly to recover to 8th position, but now he's just disconnected from the race. So bad news for Antonio, but hopefully he'll be back stronger in the future. We've seen that he's got a lot of pace and a lot of potential.
So apparently, the Kirky Life has just said, "What a shame. Tonio is a regular in the disconnect column." Yes, it is always sad whenever we see a driver have multiple disconnects in such a short span of time. I think Jeffrey Fournier last season was a prime example of having multiple disconnects over a very short period of time. So yeah, very unlucky. However, that is just the way that our racing goes, and sometimes you just get very unlucky.
Yeah, we can pick out a couple. The entire YTF1 or Idols team springs to mind. So I'm afraid there are a couple of people who do tend to keep encountering bad luck like that.
And we have Fabian Rude in 18th, as we have Helpap crashing out and retiring.
And another one, he is added to our list of retirements, and what's happened here.
Oh.
Ruda is back into the pits again as well with damage. It looks to me as if Help Up had some sort of failure.
It looks like a brake failure, but then he started slowing down a bit more later on. I'm not entirely sure what happened there.
Well, I'm looking at his brake. His brake was activated, but it looks like only halfway and very, very late. So something very weird happened with Jean-Pierre Help Up there. And for some weird reason, he has gone straight into the barrier at turn 2, straight down the escape road. Absolutely no speed, or pretty much no speed taken off at all. It was a very bizarre one.
200 kilometers an hour hitting that wall. Very, very sad to see. And yeah, no, Antonio Hreljanovich being very disappointed with his race with the 2 unlucky moments now that I'm seeing a comment. But yes,
Ruda's accident was just a simple sort of overcooking out of turn 10 and into the barrier right in front of his teammate Jason Muscat, so that would have been embarrassing for the second Multiforce GP driver, especially seeing as Jason is his boss.
I don't think we're gonna see. No, this is responding to a comment from Matthew Allington on GPVWC YouTube. Brake failures incoming. No, they aren't. I don't think this was a brake failure. We think that this was just some kind of possible braking failure or the hardware failure on the side of Help Up, but it didn't look, because he started braking later on, but not strongly enough. So it just very much looks like it wasn't a brake failure outright.
And Schubenek loses it. He was chasing Gerber for third, but he's overcooked it coming out of turn 5, I think, and has spun it into the infield if there was one. Doesn't lose a place, but he does drop right away from Patrick Gerber there, and Gerber now has some breathing space in third position. But yeah, Help Up's incident I don't think was a brake failure either, because his telemetry was registering brakes, but only very, very late and only halfway. So whatever happened, it was a bizarre one. It was almost like the driver kind of went semi-conscious, but hopefully that wasn't the case.
Hopefully not. Well, he definitely clicked escape fairly quickly, so I think he's definitely okay.
Jolly good. And Limburg's out.
Johan
Limburg is another addition to the retirement list. He was running well as well. So the attrition keeps coming. It's the same issue. Look at the replay. It's the same issue that Help Up had.
Okay, brake failures incoming.
Yeah, I reckon that is a brake failure.
It is. It says said so on our list right here as a cause of the retirement. So Johan Lindberg, brake failure. Okay, that is
a very Lindbergh-like retirement, I'm afraid to say. And now we only have 17 drivers out of the 28 that started left in the race. It hasn't been the same sort of flat-out pile-up carnage that we've seen from Formula Challenge yesterday. But what it has been is just drivers gradually dropping out, very much like the real Azerbaijan Grand Prix last year.
Apparently, I'm getting. Apparently, according to Chris Shepard, we're getting a lot of Murray moments. So a lot of very funny mistakes or consistencies. I am anyway. Yes, with the brake failure stuff. But yes, well, what we're looking at right now is, I wonder how many drivers under chose the cooling ducts or for the cars for the brakes, because it could be looking. And Roy Schroten is out with brake failure as well.
No, there's so many drivers. They're dropping like flies. Roy Schroten, our latest retirement, he was running 5th. That's a disaster for Roy Schroten, who becomes our latest driver on the list of people to retire. And he wasn't the only one there, because there was an ST racing car spun just out of the corner. But again, for Schroten, it was just that the car was taking a very long time to slow down. Now, who was the ST car who I think had a spin in the same place? I think that was Mark Fuller. No, it wasn't an ST car. I think I just gave a few people heart attacks. I think I was just looking at the wrong thing. That might not have been a car at all.
Oh gosh, at this point it very much looks like we may even get 0 finishers. Or the driver who will win is the one that is not going to have a brake failure. This is actually interesting, but I don't know whose fault, where the fault lies. Is it the drivers having an issue with the cooling ducts? I know we have Johan Lindberg in the comments. Can we just hear if you're using the most open brake ducts, if it's not overheating, or if it's just your brakes failing outright? Because it looks very odd.
Well, hopefully it doesn't happen anymore. There is a real air of tension hanging over the field now, as we've seen 2 or 3 drivers retiring from the race with the same sort of braking issues, and as a result, we're waiting to see if people can actually finish the race.
Yes, and it's going to be very interesting, and it very much depends on the braking style of a driver and braking setup, because some may be using less pressure as their max pressure on the brakes, and they can be using a different brake bias, which does affect which brakes get worn how quickly. And it's going to be very interesting to see which drivers do make it and which drivers have failure as well. As we see Ben Zupanek go into a wall again for a second.
I was about to say, I thought I heard some more crunch sound effects, so Ben Zupanek's had another little incident, but he looks fine. I'm just checking for any damage.
Jack Mayer with the brakes.
Another brake failure? Jack Mayer? Oh no! Well, Mayer was another driver running well. It's picking off all the quick guys today.
Well, Jack Mayer had the issues earlier with being half taken out by his teammates, so his race was already compromised, and now it is completely over. We only have 15 drivers on the track currently. This is...
Oh, word. Everyone who finishes will score points here. Now, I wasn't expecting that at the start with so many drivers in the race. I knew it would be chaos. I didn't realise it would be their own cars killing them.
This is gonna be weird. I'm really wondering who's gonna make it to the finish now, because it's literally just a matter of who knows that the brakes can handle it, and who knew beforehand that they have to save the brakes, because it's usually not something you think about throughout the race.
Come on, guys, easy on the brakes. Don't wear it out. Don't overdo it. If you finish the race now, you get points. So whoever heard that, finish this race. Come on, bring the car home. We've got to have at least someone to stand on the podium at the end of this.
I mean, yeah, it'd be very interesting to see somebody get on the podium who usually doesn't. However, doing so by brake failures is a bit of a sad situation.
Into the pits again comes Mark Fuller. There's been a further incident there. He has come in with hanging steering, so something has happened again to Mark Fuller, I'm afraid to say. I thought I saw an SD car pit sideways a couple of minutes ago. That doesn't explain why he didn't pit earlier than that, but well, in any case, he's had some sort of incident. He's actually had some sort of, well, he's randomly slowed in the middle of one of the straights just now, like gone down into gear 1. That looks like a lag issue, so whatever, we hope that doesn't happen anymore. But anyway, he's been back into the pits for whatever damage he sustained there.
Yes,
it was at turn 2. He again locked up the rear axle, spun the car around, and went into the barrier rear first.
Now he still has to run a couple laps before he can get points. I think that you have to drive. You have to complete at least 90% of the full race distance to get to actually be classified. So he still has to do about 2 laps, I think.
What happened to Patrick Gerber? Patrick Gerber has had an incident, as has Adam Oscar. So Oscar has spun on the exit of turn 3, I think that is. But Patrick Gerber was actually giving him the place there, because Gerber has had an incident all of his own from 3rd position. Oh, well, what's happened here is he's locked up the rears going into turn 2, smashed into the inside barrier, and that has given 3rd place to Ben Zupanek. So issues happening to all of the top guys here, and Gerber is going to drop down the order. I expect he'll be pitting at the end of this lap. Zupanek is 3rd, or will Gerber elect to kind of creep around and see what points he can salvage without pitting? He could be seen as a danger if he causes an accident this way, but if he's clean and just sort of drives his own race now, he could still get a 4th position. He's got about a 5-second gap to Bastian Peisler behind him, and 2 laps to hold on, so I don't think that's possible with a car in a state as his.
No, it is going to be extraordinarily difficult to be able to finish a race like that. It's nearly it's basically unsafe every time he breaks. It's absolutely scary. But this is some absolutely crazy stuff that's happening here.
It looks to me like every brake lockup we're having now is very much the same issue, but to a lesser extent. So maybe that we are just seeing very big brake fades all of a sudden, and some of the drivers are being caught completely out of race, and others not having a catastrophic failure.
Oh, rFactor just spawned. rFactor just spawned in turn, I think that's 3?
Well, I'll look at the replay now. Yes, that's turn 3. He's had the same incident that the others are having. He's locked up the rears, spun the car into the inside barrier, taps it on the front, doesn't use his front wing, luckily for him. That could be seen as an unsafe rejoin there, though. Comes right back on in front of Mike Bell, who is a lap down. And if Bell reports that, I'm scared that Redshaw might end up with a penalty.
To be honest, even if he gets even a 5-second penalty at the moment, he's well safe of Ben Zupanek. So we'll have to see about that anyway. But at the moment, Redshaw pretty securely in second.
And Gerber's out. Gerber is now out. I've said that he had all sorts of brake issues. It's now turned into a catastrophic brake failure. He's gone straight down the escape road. There was absolutely no stopping force going into that car. He is out of this race.
He lost one brake at one point, and now he lost all of them. It is another brake failure, and this is scary. However, he will be classified in 15th place by the looks of it, or maybe... Oh no, that's technically a suspension failure, which is interesting. But it definitely looks like he lost his brake.
No, I think that was registered as a suspension failure because he did have suspension damage. We're now on the final lap of the race. Come on, coast it home, guys. We're on the final lap of the race, and now we just have to cross our fingers that we don't see any more of those catastrophic brake failures. Gerber is actually going to be finishing in 11th position because the drivers behind him are a lap further behind than him, I believe. So that means that Gerber, I think the worst he can get is 11th. But
sure it's going to be either 14th or 15th.
Yeah, because of where they all are placed on the lap. That makes sense. Yeah, I believe you're right. But anyway, Maciej Winnick is leading us onto this final lap of the race from Lewis Redshaw, Ben Stupanek, Bastian Peister, and Jason Muscat. Lewis McGlade is in 7th, and that's ironic, seeing as before this race he said the brakes barely work, but that's how I like it. And obviously, that's certainly turning out to be more truthful than he expected in this race. I've just noticed that some of these cars have different style steering wheels to each other. But anyway,
that's fair preference as far as I know.
Through the final sector we go, and Winnick is going to cross the line side by side with Bruno Sousa Ferreira, who is rightfully backing off, so he doesn't have to do another lap and risk another lap of brake failure. Maciej Winnick is going to cross the line now to win the race for Scuderia Brasilia. An absolutely hectic race has come to an end. Maciej Winnick spins it across the line and wins the race after 30 tense laps.
Well, this was absolutely insane stuff that we've seen. And actually, Gerber, I think, is going to finish at this point in 13th. Yeah, so... But yeah, it's crazy, and I'm surprised that anybody finished this race with the issues we've had so far. But it's a great race from Maciej Winnick, it's a great race from Lewis Redshaw, and great from Ben Zupanek, all doing fantastic job to finish on the podium without a brake failure, which we've seen from a lot of drivers all over the grid. And thankfully for for the sprint race, we're not going to see it since the race is short enough.
Oh, don't say that.
Oh no. I'm not trying to jinx it, but yeah.
Yeah, Ben Stupanek was absolutely in the wars today and somehow still managed to finish in 3rd place. That's about the least expected 3rd place I've ever seen in Sim Racing. The eventual winning margin was actually 22 seconds from Maciej Winnick over Lewis Redshaw. That was a dominant victory from Maciej Winnick. Brilliant performance. Redshaw was 2nd, followed by Zupanek, Peisler, Muscat, and Quint. Lewis McGlade is going to cross the line in 7th position. I'm sure he's going to earn himself a new nickname to do with not having any brakes today. no break, or that sort of sounded like McLean. It didn't really at all. I'm ashamed of myself. He finished in 7th. 8th is going to be Daniel Brewer, who is going to cross the line just in a couple of seconds now. He's the last driver on the lead lap, but I tell you what, to stay on the lead lap in a race like that really took a lot of effort. Brewer finishes 8th, and then a lap down we had Tuamola, Bell, Oscar, Ruder, Gerber, who retired of course, and then behind him actually, so not completing the same number of laps as him, were Bruno Sousa Ferreira and Mark Fuller, both 2 laps down.
Well, we are seeing Stefan Ruold being back on the server.
Yeah, so maybe he has got his wheels sorted out for race 2. I'm now going to read out the retirements, actually. This could take me a while. So, out of the race, we have Jack Mayer, Roy Schroten, Johan Lindberg, Jean-Pierre Helper, Antonio Frelanovic, Josh Downard, Naranjan Kumar, Gerrit de Vries, Jared Batalla, Patrick Kraus, James Lambert, Stefan Rowe, and Dawe Tapper throughout the various incidents and accidents in that race. There was a huge pile-up at the start after Rowe had a wheel disconnect, and unfortunately that caught out a lot of other drivers, and then all of a sudden everyone else started having issues with brake failures and various other accidents. And to be honest, a lot of these drivers will be very glad that race was over.
Yeah, I think they'll be very glad that this race is over, and they'll be looking forward to the shorter race where brakes may not be as big of an issue, hopefully. The first brake failure we've seen was on lap 21, I think, from Jean-Pierre Helpap, which means that hopefully 17 laps is not going to be an issue. It's also apparently Mike Bell managed this race on 28 lap all super softs at the end.
Well, that shows very much that this race is going to be a case of super softs all the way, this race too. And I don't think there's going to be any division over strategy like we saw at Shanghai last time. It's just going to be a straight fight to the finish and a case of don't retire.
Yeah, also apparently Mike Bell also finished with a brake failure.
He finished with no brakes?
Apparently so. That's according to himself saying so, yes. So I'd say he got a brake failure fairly late on in the race. And I think you said it right. Everybody deserves an ice cream after that one. And I think I think those brakes require an ice cream as is as well, or some preferably some dry ice.
Yes, they certainly need it. Of course, the great thing about sim racing is that you can just launch straight into a second race. You don't have to worry about repairing the cars and cooling down the brakes. You can just get completely new ones, and that's what these cars will be getting for this next race. So no worry about extra wear from race 1, because I tell you what, if we were to do a race 2 with exactly the same cars that we just finished with, absolutely no one would even reach the halfway point. I'm sure of it.
Oh, absolutely. It would be impossible to probably drive for more than 5 laps without the brake failure coming in. It would require some good bit of replacing them, which in real life they of course would have. At this point, if the brakes were so marginal, then those would be the first part to go in a service. Now, this is going to be a very interesting second race as well. We're still waiting for the reverse grid number, and I'm just wondering if we're gonna see Mike Bell come onto the start the second race after finishing the first one with a brake failure. If he's gonna manage to start off from pole, that would require some bit of luck, but it would also make it an absolutely amazing story.
It certainly would. We're just having a conversation now about the race with the most retirements in the YouTube chat here. Apparently, there was once a race at Monaco with only 8 finishes. Though I don't know how many starters there were in that. But sounds like there have been a couple of races of attrition. That one especially. Counting the retirements, I think we ended up with there were 14 drivers left still circulating out of 28. So that's half the grid, 14 retirements. Incredible.
Absolutely incredible and insane. by the looks of it, it will be. Hopefully, it will be less of a retirement-heavy race, and hopefully, we're not going to see what happened in race 1 here in the first corner, because that was one of the most unlucky incidents I think we've seen when a top driver has a wheel failure like that. I mean, it's nobody can really dodge it, and I think we're still going to see some complaints about this race not being red flagged. However, we have the reverse grid number 9. Tuomala is going to be on pole.
Wouldn't it have been funny if the reverse grid draw had put Patrick Gerber on pole after retiring at the end of last race? That would have been quite something.
Well, that was not even a possibility. So.
Well, it would have been that he finished. I think it was 14th. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Well, we have 6th to 10th.
I was thinking Formula Challenge. Yeah.
Even in Formula Challenge, it's 6th to 10th, I think.
No. Formula Challenge is 10th to 15th.
Okay. They changed that. Okay.
It's been like that for as long as I've been here.
Yes, I haven't been following them up that much. When I raced there, it was 6 to 10. However, here it is definitely 6 to 10, and we're definitely looking at top Martin Winnick having to go through 8 drivers to win the next race if he wants to get in. If he wants to lead the championship by quite a margin. However, he's now only a single point behind the championship leader of Stefan Ruhl. Both Scuderia Basilea guys, I think, are both currently leading the championship after the first race. And this race is going to really decide how far in front realistically Matthew Winnick is going to be.
I tell you what, though, Winnick did exactly what you just said in race 1. Went from 8th on the grid to win the race. So if Winnick can do it once, then he needs the right circumstances, of course, but he can certainly do it in race 2 as well. Remember that he didn't just win race 1, he dominated it. 22.3 seconds was the margin, and surely Winnick is an absolute force to be reckoned with at this circuit.
I'm just looking for through the chat, and apparently some drivers had different brake sizes, I think. And a lot of drivers had very, very small. Even Matthew Winnick apparently had fairly small brake disc in front, and managed to get through somehow. But a lot of drivers saying that they had bigger brakes, like 2.8 centimeters, and they still failed. So it's very odd to see some drivers being so good on the brakes and having them not fail, while some others going very safely with their brake choice and still managing to have a failure.
Well, it really was a case of who was going to get lucky with the brakes in that last race there, but yeah, certainly a rather tricky one and a rather tense one for the drivers.
It's definitely going to be tense, and I'm just thinking that now, who do you think is going to win this race? Because it's going to be very interesting. A lot of the top drivers did manage to not finish the race, so they're going to be coming from the back. And now we're going to see a 9th place start from Matthew Winnick. Lewis Retro starting right in front of him, of course, not having the same pace. Johan Lindberg being and Patrick Gerber starting fairly high. Or sorry, not Patrick Gerber, but not Johan Lindberg. I'm just looking back. But a lot of drivers will be looking at fairly, maybe not even that fast, but not too slow, and starting up quite high up. So it's going to be fascinating.
Matthew Allington brings up the point that the damage, or the brake wear, may have been accelerated by damage. Now, I don't know entirely what the truth behind that is. It looks to be only a speculation, but that could be a reason behind it. It certainly looked to be the drivers who had been previously in the wars who did end up having issues. Like, for example, Patrick Gerber had been a bit clonked around prior, as had Josh Downard, I think.
Okay, something very interesting is a driver that is very fast, who is high up now, starting up, is Daniel Brewer starting in 2nd.
Yes, that's absolutely true. He came into this round in, I think, 4th in the championship, having finished 3rd in every race that he participated in. Of course, he missed the second race at Shanghai, but prior to that, he'd finished 3rd in every race.
This is gonna be okay. So I think that we may Matthew Minnick may actually have a very difficult time getting up to the front.
Well, he certainly will, but it's Matthew Minnick. We can see what he does, and I'm sure that he's going to be giving it his absolute all with the championship lead in sight.
And so let's. It's gonna. I'm just wondering as well. Now that if Stefan Ruold is going to be able to make the race fully, because this is going to be very, very difficult to judge if the steering wheel is safe to go. I'm hoping he did some practice runs in between the two races to make sure that the wheel is safe to work. But that was very disconcerting about what happened in turn 1.
Yeah, he has done. He's just topped the little warm-up session before race 2. So obviously his car is capable of doing a race, but well, let's hope he doesn't have any more issues in the race. He's capable of doing a lap rather, but we'll see if he can do the race. Of course, the worst thing about that issue was that it wasn't just him that it took out of the race. It was the rest of the field as well. At the start, pretty much everyone got piled up. There was so many people with issues after lap 1, and well, that should be reduced, seeing as he's starting so far back at the start of this race if it happens again. But it'd be better, of course, if it didn't happen again.
Of course, and he'll be hoping to get some points out of this race if he can. It's going to, considering he's a very fast driver, I think it's possible, but it is always difficult to come back from so far back. Drivers
just being reminded to respect other drivers, yellow flags, blue flags, all of that, by the race director and by the other drivers. And now we are heading out to the starting grid. It'll be Mikael Tuomala who starts on pole position, followed by Daniel Brewer, Lewis McGlade, Mike Quint, Jason Muscat, Bastian Peisler, Ben Supanek, Lewis Redshaw, Macho Winnick, Mike Bell, Adam Oscar, Fabian Ruder, Patrick Gerber, Bruno Souza Ferreira, Mark Fuller. Those are the top 15, so the drivers in the points paying position so far. And then out of the points so far, Mayer, Schroten, Lindbergh, Helpap, Krelinovic, Downard, Kumar, Batala, Kraus, Lambert, Rowe, and Tapper.
Well. Some fast drivers up in front and some fast drivers at the back and in the middle. We're looking at a complete mix-up of the grid, and I think this is going to be fascinating. Also, two teammates up in front, Tuomala and Brewer, both driving for the same team, so this could provide very fascinating start to the race with possibly some teamwork from the two.
Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a rather interesting one, as we see 27 drivers thrashing it around 17 laps of the Baku City Street Circuit. Race 1 was chaos. Race 2 is even more ferocious, and it's actually teammates starting on the front row of the grid for the Scuderia Clay Geely car, the Scuderia Clay Geely cars of Michael Tuomala and Daniel Brewer. Such a 1-2 so far, with their brand new livery, very sort of mid-2010 Sauber-esque. Another team which has a brand new livery this weekend is the Zederick racing car, which hasn't, unfortunately, been able to show it off to the greatest extent, with Tapper retiring early and Helpap retiring later on in the race as well. So a double retirement for that livery's first showing. But now we have the two SCG cars starting on the front row. Not Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus. This is the Scuderia Clay Geely.
Yes, that's a completely different racing team and a manufacturer on one side of real life race cars.
Beautiful car, though.
Oh, every single car they've put out so far is an incredible looker. However, this is not what we're concentrating on today. We are concentrating on these also absolutely beautiful cars, which this season have changed into somewhat of an amalgamation of a Formula 2 car and a current Formula 1 car. They're both fantastic. They're actually fantastic looking and providing some fantastic racing as well. As we're lining up onto the grid slots, it is Mikael Tomala going for the starting on the outside of the first corner with his teammate Daniel Brewer going on the inside. This is going to be fascinating to see if we can, if these two will be working together or if they'll be in a fierce battle from the first meters of this race. Everyone else is going to just have to try and get past the two. As we line up.
Oh, no, carry on.
As we line up, and soon we'll have the lights coming on. It's all ready for this sprint race and the final race of Azerbaijan in the Super Cup. Of course, most drivers are driving on the softer compound. I'm seeing some drivers on this actual harder compounds, like Mike Fint, in fact. So that's something we're gonna have to look for as well, and take a look as we go through the race. Actually, Tomala, a lot of drivers seem to be on the harder compound.
Bad decision, but here come the lights. Here come the lights. We've got 5 on, and away we go. The SCGs lead us away on this opening lap. Tomala gets a better run into turn 1. Brewer leaves it a bit late, and the two of them get out cleanly. There's another incident. Oh, wow, good save there from... oh, no, there is a collision behind, but Ben Stupanek very nearly caused another huge pileup, but they all get through.
Oh, there it is.
Except for Sousa Ferreira at the back. Now
we have a block track.
There are several cars facing sideways in the background. Looks like there's not too much actual damage. Kumar was involved. Lambert was involved. Sousa Ferreira was involved again. He was involved in both incidents. But apart from that, I reckon we've had a pretty clean start. Certainly the cleanest we've had in all of the 4 races. What's happened now?
Lindbergh out. More drivers still crashed. I'm trying to figure out who it was, but lots and lots of drivers after having issues. But it is only so far Lindbergh out.
Oh, and Stupanek's missing his front wing as well. So Stupanek, who finished 3rd in race 1, is missing his front wing, and Lindbergh has just smashed straight through that barrier. That looks like he had some sort of disconnection, and he was very lucky not to take anyone else out.
Yeah, it looks like he kept on accelerating into the wall even after the breaking point. It just looks very, very odd, and I'd say it definitely was some kind of a hardware failure.
Yeah, just like Rhodes, but very different. Stupanek's incident, interestingly, was caused by Stupanek touching... Oh no, this is a separate incident. This is after Stupanek had already got the damage. He touched the rear end of Dawi Tapa's car, and Tapa flew on top of Ben Stupanek's car. That was Stupanek just leaving his braking too late without a front wing, which is very silly. But Stupanek had already lost his front wing in the various incidents near the start of the lap.
Now, battle for first is brewing now. Well, no pun intended, but Tomala is definitely coming from was trying to maybe come up to Brewer, and now McGlade is having a look on Daniel on Tomala, and it just is looking like Tomala is not as fast as McGlade, who's now coming under heavy attacks from Muscat. It just is a massive snake of cars. And it just looks like Martin Winnick is trying to utilize that himself, nearly crashing into Muscat by getting it done on Mike Finn.
Now, in all of the chaos, I didn't notice, but the two SCGs have swapped places. So Brewer is now leading from Tuamola. I believe that was down out of turn 10. So whether they swap positions tactically or not, I'd be surprised if they did this early in the race. But whatever the case, Brewer is now getting away from the rest of the pack. And Tuamola is trying to hold up everyone else to let his teammate get off into the distance. This is good teamwork between the two of them. It's Lewis McGlade in 3rd position, and then it's Muscat and Winnick. So Winnick already up into 5th position here in his charge to take the lead of the Drivers' Championship, and he's on course for it at this precise point in time. So a good start to the race for Macho Winnick, and Stupanek has not pitted for some weird reason, despite the fact he doesn't have a front wing. In fact, he's just touched the wall again, which shows me that he really should have pitted.
Yes, like at this point, it's dangerous driving more than anything if you're hitting a wall.
Another
Now,
retirement on that lap was Kacper, who we saw getting flicked in the air by Ben Schupanek.
ooh, Oscar just went around, and so did Jack Mayer. They both touched in the coming out. Was near Kumar and collects Stefan Ruold, and more drivers collected in that situation. Patrick Gerber being one of them. Patrick Kraus, another one, crashing.
And we're 3 wide for third. Very nearly. McGlade's missed his braking. He's going straight on. And Jason Muscat gets it. And now Maciej Winnick goes through as well. So Lewis McGlade loses 2 positions. There was an incident behind, as you said. A couple of drivers, a couple of high-ranking drivers involved in that one. But there's been a pass up ahead. And yeah, it was Gerber who rolled over after getting over the curve. Into the barrier. Patrick Gerber went for a big bounce and a big roll, collided with Patrick Kraus, who spun very heavily into the barrier, and then in the background, Oscar and Mayer came together. That looks to be Oscar just running a bit wide into Jack Mayer, and then Naranjan Kumar and Stefan Ruhl got collected as well. So Ruhl, our championship leader, did he get away without any damage? Yes, just about. And more drivers involved. Fabian Ruder's lost his front wing. Naranjan Kumar's been into the wall again. We have had another big pile-up here at the Baku City Street Circuit.
I'm now interested in seeing how well Winnick can fight Jason Muscat to actually overtake him, because it's getting very, very close. And from there on, it's just 2 drivers left to go into the lead for Maciej Winnick. However, it is 2 drivers from the Scuderia
Clay Geely.
Clay Geely. Yes, thank you.
And Ben Schupanek has done something silly. He's just come out of the pits after losing his front wing, and he's immediately crashed the car. He's gone up through the castle section, spun the car around into the wall. I reckon there might have been some extensive damage that caused that, but it did seem like a relatively normal accident. So whatever's happened, he's out of the race.
And we have Maciej Winnick did go through Jason Muscat on the straight by the looks of it. He is now going to be concentrating on Mikael Tuomala, and he is so very close on the first of the DRS zones around this lap, and he will be attempting a move. Is it going to be on the inside? No. Tuomala goes defensive. He will be having a compromised entry. No. Winnick goes for a late dive, and he barely makes it. There is contact. However, that was definitely an overtake that that both cars fit through. And Winnick up into second. Now Daniel Brewer is the only driver in his sights for the lead of this race.
We had a big slide for Tuomala, and he's now very much under attack from Jason Muscat for our final podium paying position. I believe that Mike Quint touched the wall slightly there. Quint on the harder compounded tyres, I'd say quite foolishly, but we'll see. And
Winnick hit the wall. Winnick hit the wall at the castle section quite badly. Can he actually? His car is damaged. His suspension is damaged. It's going to be a very difficult drive for Winnick to actually keep going for the win. But he is driving a damaged car. It's going to be a far more difficult task for him.
Goodness gracious, the drama keeps on coming. It is Winnick in second for now, but for how much longer? He certainly seems to be holding it together fine, but still, that car is going to be a lot less predictable than it was before, and not entirely pointing in the right direction. Stefan Roth is already up into 14th position, so he's in the points now, and he, I'm sure, is waiting to capitalise on any more errors, any more problems that Winnick might have an encounter. Patrick Kraus is out. So Patrick Kraus is our latest retirement, and he has he's locked up the rear axle going down towards turn 3.
We have a crash. We have somebody on the straight that just crashed. Lewis McGlade is out.
McGlade, he was running in 5th position. So McGlade, a very high-ranking driver, has...
Oh no.
And Lewis Redshaw was involved. Now how's that happened? Redshaw's rolled. Now that's been a huge crash. Oh my word, I'm looking back at the replay. It looks to me... Oh my word, so what's happened? Let's analyse this. So Muscat's got Tuomala. Tuomala's dropped back towards McGlade. McGlade's gone up the inside. He's made contact with him and the wall at the same time. Tuomala's gone wide and gone into Mike Quint. Quint's bashed against the barrier, bounced across to McGlade. It's like ping pong. Lewis Redshaw has got caught up against the barrier. They've gone for a very glitchy, oh my word. And then Redshaw goes for many, many rolls. I'm not even going to count them. Huge crash. And Bastian Peisler got involved as well. That is the biggest accident I've ever seen in Supercup.
Well, I think the first lap accident was bigger in terms of the amount of people involved, but this was definitely a lot bigger in terms of how how fast everybody was going and how many drivers had to dodge, and some drivers not being able to just because it was near impossible to do so. But it was definitely a massive, massive incident, and that's going to leave a lot of drivers pretty unhappy about themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Now watch for the lead. Winnick is going for it on the outside in his slightly damaged car on Daniel Brewer. That sideways pointingness of his suspension is not putting him off in the slightest, but Brewer is diving again. Oh, he's locked up. He's gone wide over the sausage curb and through into the lead. Goes Maciej Winnick in the Scuderia Brasilia.
Now, this is something incredible for a driver
and into the wall goes Trelanovic from 7th. And into the pits goes Bastian Peisler from 9th. So it's all happening up the front. Trelanovic has lost his front wing. He was taking a look at Mike Bell ahead of him. There was contact. He went into the inside wall. That forced him to the outside wall. He's lost his front wing. It looks to me like Peisler had his accident prior. In fact, I think that might have actually been on the previous... yeah, it was on the previous lap with the big flip. He just got tagged by Lewis McGlade's spinning car and went into the wall. He was involved in that one, and he's just coming out of the pits now. Redshaw is in the pits as well after flipping over and over and over, possibly about 20 times. And really, a lot of people's races were just ruined as many drivers ping-ponged across the track. And now into the wall goes Josh Downett. He tried to make a move on Patrick Gerber for the final points-paying position in 15th. Missed his braking, went into the barrier, and he's lost the place to both Gerber. Actually, that was for 16th. For Gerber and Kumar. And is there damage on his car? It looks like there might be slight damage. Yes. Actually, I'm not entirely sure there. He'd certainly be very lucky to get away with that. But anyway, now it is Maciej Winnick leading this race by over a second already. He is really pulling away. Great performance from Maciej. And then it's Daniel Brewer, Mikhail Tuomala, Mike Quint, and Jason Muscat rounding out the top 5 here.
Now, it looks like Brewer has apparently hit the inside wall when Winnick was overtaking him, so it looks like that's what happened to Brewer. And I wonder if he has, but he has no damage. And I'm actually really surprised at how well Winnick can drive even the car with suspension damage as well as Trelanovic goes into pits.
Yeah, that was for his instant last lap. Now, Ruhr has made up another position. He's already up into 8th now. He just passed Mayer, but he's locked up and gone wide. He's had another wheel disconnection. This isn't... No, he hasn't. He's just... Well, what happened there? Oh, he did. He did. But, yeah, he did have another wheel disconnection, but he's reconnected it. To be honest, I think at this point, if I was the race director, I'd be scared that he's going to do it again and ruin someone else's day. I would probably kick him at this point. But... We'll see what happens. Hopefully he doesn't end up having another issue like that. He's currently in 10th position after making it up to 8th. He is still technically our championship leader, but for how much longer?
It looks like he is definitely not going to be coming out on top of the championship standings after this race, especially not if his wheel is going to act up again. And now I'm worried for the drivers behind him, like Mark Fuller, that they won't know if he's going to have a failure. Oh, as the road goes sideways and blocks the track.
No, not again. Well, that's not a wheel disconnection that time. That is just a simple loss of control, and he's blocked the track. Fuller gave him a little bit of a clonk as he went through, but they've all got going again, and Ruhr is now down into 11th place. Climbed to 8th, dropped to 11th.
It looks like he just literally made a mistake. Maybe the tires have been quite destroyed after him locking up with that wheel disconnect as he crashes out, and now it's properly losing it. And
what
Oscar
on earth
crashes
is
into
happening? Ruhr loses it again, and well, he just locked up the rear wheel, and he's lost his front. He's out. Yeah, he's out of the race, and the change for 3rd has just occurred. No, it hasn't. It did occur initially, but Quint has well, just after getting past Tuamala, locked up the rears and gone into the wall at turn 1. There's probably some damage on that car, I shouldn't wonder. Yep, suspension damage for Mike Quint. He's still running in 4th position, but could have had 3rd there. But Mikhail Tuamala gets away with it for now, and still the SCG guys 2nd and 3rd. Great performance from them.
Yeah, definitely good performance. And in terms of what's happening with the loud noises, usually loud noises in this series mean people are crashing, and luckily. Otherwise, I have no idea if there are any noises coming through from us, because I don't think so. That's answering what happened in the in terms of the chat. However, what's very interesting is Mike Finn still is challenging Tuamala for that 3rd spot, and is doing, again, it's going to be very difficult. It seems like it's very difficult to go past Tuamala. However, it's not impossible, and we've seen it happen before, so it's going to be fascinating.
Absolutely it is, and a very difficult piece of driving here. And well, my stream's going a bit weird here, but anyway, I'm going to.
Ooh,
whoa,
Mike Finn goes
Quinn.
completely sideways as he's going fast, and he must have lost a lot of downforce, and he's going for it. He's gonna open the DRS about now, and coming closer. Tuamala is going to the inside, Quinn going to the outside. There is only just barely any overlap. Not quite able to do it for Quinn, but Tuamala goes way too wide,
Whoa.
and Quinn goes to the inside and does a very, very beautiful move. Quinn doing very, very well, and he's now running for a podium.
And Roy Schroten up into 5th now from Mike Bell. So you have to wonder what Mike Quint would be able to do if he was on the softer compounded tyre. He's doing a great job on the harder compound here. To make it up into 3rd position now, ahead of Mikhail Tuamala. And behind them, Roy Schroten, Mike Bell and Jason Muscat are in a battle of their own, with Schroten just passing Bell down the straight there. And now we have 21 drivers remaining in this race, being headed around by a long way by Maciej Młynek, who is leading the race by almost 3.5 seconds now. Great performance from Maciej, but the real battle is still that for 3rd position, although it looks as if Mike Quint's getting away from that one as well.
Yes, at the moment it looks like he was faster, and he is faster, and he's going to be trying to get safely outside of the DRS zone. So now he can just run away and make the 3rd place his. He just has to be careful as to not kill his tires. And interesting enough, he is on the harder compound tires compared to Tuamala. So so these tires may be working better at this point of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I expected that maybe the hard tires would work better at the end of the race, but I wasn't expecting that he'd be able to get that high order at the start of the race. Of course, it's been a little bit of luck just steering clear of incidents, but let's face it, you have to do that as a driver, and Tuamala has hit the wall. That was a close one. Well, he did hit it. I don't think that he's got any big damage. In fact, it doesn't look as if he's got any damage from it. And if he doesn't, he's extremely lucky.
Yeah, he has some. His car is turning slightly to the left, but very, very slightly. And he is seemingly very much overdriving the car from my perspective, from what I've seen of him for a few seconds. So it just seems like Tuamala not quite getting on with the car currently.
And now Jason Muscat has made it up into 6th position from Mike Bell. So Bell dropping a couple of positions here. Muscat, the driver standing in for the absent Matthew Marquardt, is up into 6th position in his own team's car, the Malta Force GP car, headed in Malta, of course.
Doing a very good job, to be honest, so far, and he's going to be definitely trying to catch up to Schroten if he can.
There's a crash in the lower part of the order. That was for the last couple of point-paying positions. Oscar and Kumar were going side by side for 14th, and Oscar locked up his rear axle and went into Kumar, and they all got caught up with Frelinovic, but Frelinovic came off the best of that and went up into 14th position, and Peisler has gone through into the final points-paying position in 50th.
It looked to me like Kumar did go a little too quickly into the corner. However, Oscar did lose it, so it was kind of a fault on either side.
No, you have to put all of that blame onto Oscar. He properly spun into...
Well, of course, he did block the route. I'm just saying that otherwise it could have ended up with Kumar running across the corner and blocking him. So you could kind of nearly say that both had some kind of mistakes going on there, but one of them was far bigger than the other.
Yeah, well, often that is the case with incidents like that. Talking of that, Kumar's had another incident. He's just gone straight on. Oh, he's had another incident with Oscar. It looks as if... Oh, and again, it's just Oscar locking up the rear brakes and spinning around into Kumar. Or, well, spinning around so that Kumar had nowhere else to go. And that was a very kind of lazy, low-speed one. But anyway, they've been caught up and dropped down the order a bit.
I have a feeling like that. Well, to be fair, at that point, if you have so many mistakes, you would nearly possibly make stewards look at it, or the DC look at it. However, we're seeing some battle for 13th place. There was a 3-wide moment between Verlianovic, Sebastian Peiser, and Patrick Gerber. And Gerber and Peiser just changing their places like as if it's nothing. Just going side by side everywhere and just having a better exit in one corner and then being overtaken in the next. They're both on 2 different compound of tires, which could be that the one compound is working better through some corners and the other is working through others. It's very fascinating. However, at the moment, Gerber is on top of it. And at the moment, it looks like Peiser is just going as close as it can, but I think that Gerber is now on the better tire, on the harder to compound of tire, which is going to be a bit faster at the end of the race.
We're now into the double digits in laps. Maciej Munich has just completed his 10th lap. He's on lap 11 now. Well, actually, that was his 11th lap. He's now on lap 12. So we're quite a long way through the race, about 65% through, over halfway. And Munich just has about 5 laps left to keep it clean, and he'll be heading for a double victory at this rate. Great result for him so far. And now Tuomala has been caught by Roy Schroeter for that 4th position. And those two could yet change.
As we have Sousa Ferreira just being in a battle and then crashing into, or getting crashed into a wall. I'm not entirely sure. I need to check that replay. Yeah, he's kind of hit off Patrick Gerber. Patrick Gerber drove into his way, and Sousa Ferreira just not having anywhere to go, straight into a wall, losing the front wing and having suspension damage, now having to pit in and losing any chance of having points.
Oh, I tell you what, that was a very unfortunate one. Often that is the hardest type of
accident to
avoid for both sides.
Gerber spins and touches Peiser. This is in the back of the, currently is around the back, there is a lot of fighting going on. However, we're also seeing some battling for 4th place now. Roy Schroeter so very close to Michael Tuomala. And now Tuomala is going to have to defend with all his life. Because Schroeter seems to be far more collected on the track and far more clean through the corners, which can allow him to possibly get Tuomala on the DRS into the first corner, and that will be it. However, we'll see how the exit goes for Schroeter, who's half spins and may have just lost the opportunity.
Oh, well, Schroeter still right with him. Maybe won't have the opportunity that he would have liked down this straight, but he's still got a face full of slipstream. And actually, he looks like he's going to have a real proper opportunity here, because he's got the DRS open. So Schroeter in the slipstream with the DRS open. It's a battle of 2 blue cars, and he gets closer, dives, but locks up, and that was really just showing himself to the mirror of Tuomala's car. He wasn't really going for a move there, but maybe would have done if he hadn't locked up the tyre there.
Well, this is incredible. Maciej Munich last lap made the fastest lap of the race of anybody. This is absolutely crazy so late into the race, having fastest laps, and his fastest lap is over a second clear of anybody else's. And
Tuomala has been into the barrier, and Schroeter is having another look, but and he's missed it again. That was a bad mistake from Tuomala. He's hit the wall 2 corners in a row, and Schroeter now up into a well-deserved 4th position. Tuomala is going to come under attack from Jason Muscat.
It looks like Tuomala is definitely not having a greatest race at the moment, not quite able to get that car to do what he wants it to. it just doesn't feel like the cars are quite responding as well. He seems to be maybe overdriving a little bit, maybe just not quite understanding what the car is doing. I'm not entirely sure. I've not driven these cars. I can't really comment in that sense. However, he's definitely going to be trying his absolute best to not let Jason Muscat through.
And Bruno Sousa Ferreira retires. He's got 2 bad damage. I'm just looking at his replay. That is a very damaged car, and he's just sort of pulled off the road. He knows that he's not going to get another chance. Now, what's happened is he's locked up the rears going down into turn 7, spun the car into the tech row barrier, and that is his day done. 20 cars remaining.
So that's a lot more than we had last race anyway, and we're getting close to the finish of the race finally. However, right now it seems like Tomala is actually able to keep his distance away from Muscat, however, Muscat is not able to keep his distance from Mike Bell, who had a little bit of a look, very akin of what Muscat did last lap, and now Bell is going to try to keep up as much as he can. Or sorry, Schroten tried that last lap. Mike Bell is going to be shadowing Muscat, hoping for that 6th place, and I think that would be the best result of this season so far for Mike Bell. Not the best result of Cosmo this season, this race so far, but it would definitely be a fantastic result.
I tell you what, Maciej Milik has really checked out at the front of the order. He's almost 10 seconds ahead of anyone else. Brilliant drive from him so far. I hope I'm not cursing anyone by saying that, but...
Well, his laps are over a second faster than anybody else's on the track. So,
yeah, amazing.
Well, I think Jack Mayer is the only driver who's anywhere near, actually, now that I look at it. But his fastest lap is still a second slower than Maciej's fastest. So Maciej is absolutely running away with it. He's doing incredible work, and I think the only driver, honestly, who could have matched his pace is out of the race for a very long time now, and that's because it's his teammate who is usually about as fast as he is himself. So this is going to be, and luckily at the moment, it looks like Scuderia Basilea guys, or maybe luckily for them anyway, are looking like they're having a fantastic run of the season, and seemingly no matter where we go, they're up there leading and winning races. Some fantastic driving from Scuderia Basilea guys, and just shows the quality of drivers they have currently employed. As we have Mike Bell going to the inside of Jason Muscat, coming into the first corner. Can he actually make it? Can he make it stick into the braking zone? He brakes a slight bit later than Muscat does, and he makes it stick. A fantastic move from Mike Bell, and now Mike Bell is going to be able to try the same thing on Michael Tomala. And it looks like Mike Bell just has a car that's set up a bit better for the straight.
And Adam Oscar has spun out of 18th position. He gets the car, well, he's out. No, he's out. He's lost the engine or something of the kind, and he is out of the race, meaning that we now have 19 cars remaining in this race from 27 starters. But yeah, good battle for 5th, 6th, 7th. Bell gets back ahead of Jason Muscat now, who's behind him before. Bell, interestingly, has had a real boost of pace here today. His best result prior to this round was a 10th place in race 2 at Australia, but now he is up in 7th position, and race 1 was a very good one as well for him. So good performance today from Mike Bell, and he's in 7th position at this point in time.
Indeed. Well, at this point, let's look across the field for anything else in terms of battling. At the moment, Hreljanovich is still being chased by Gerber for 12th place. Everyone else seems to be a bit spaced out. Kumar and Downard for the last point scoring place are fairly close. However, I don't think Kumar is.
And Quintus hit the wall hard from 3rd position. He's hit the wall hard. His car is heavily damaged. He's losing 3rd place to Roy Schroten. And I believe that Quint does have quite bad suspension damage here. His car certainly does seem to be hanging a bit, and Schroten is through into 3rd position now.
Now Quint is going to have a difficult time keeping off everybody else, because they still have 2 laps to go. Well, a lap and 3/4 essentially, and he still has Michael Tomala chasing him down, only a couple seconds down.
But Tomala hit the wall there. He touched it.
And now Muscat has a run. On the DRS zone, can he go to the inside? It's very, very close, and he goes to the outside. and he's not quite able to do it. I don't know how.
Ooh.
Oh, as Tomala hits the wall again.
Locked up. Just went wide. We've seen that a couple of times from Tumala in the past, and he's done it again. He needs to stop doing that.
Seems to be just again overdriving the car a bit too much and just going sideways everywhere. That's not the way to drive it when you're trying to save tires.
Often it can really get to a driver's head when they get so far up on the reverse grid and they just want to impress and they overdrive the car, and that's what happens. That's about his 5th or 6th time into the wall at the same corner there. He needs to be careful. Meanwhile, Fuller and Shrelenovic side by side for 11th. Shrelenovic goes for the dummy. Look at Gerber as well. Almost shoves Shrelenovic out of the corner and goes to the inside. That would be an ambitious one. Yeah, that's exactly why, because Gerber just gets his front chopped off, but no visual damage just yet. Although this group needs to be careful because Bastian Peisler is coming up behind all of them. Big wiggle from Gerber. And,
Chris Shepard is definitely asking the right questions here. What are these cars made out of? Because this car has taken so much abuse that I don't think any car should really be able to still drive after clattering the wall so many times. But now Jack Mayer goes for the move on Mike Bell, going into the first corner again, going to the inside. But Mike Bell seems to be faster. They both, of course, have DRS, and Mayer goes for the dive.
And Tumala hits the wall again. Jack Mayer's round.
Mike Bell seems to have definitely a spot of luck right there, as he himself hits the wall now and goes for Tomala, as right in front of him Jason Muscat and Mike Fint go battling for that fourth place.
This is the final lap of the race and they're still fighting like it's the first. Look at Tomala, almost, well, he's left his braking late, but he's made it stick, or made it into the corner that time.
Fint makes place for Tomala and Mike Bell, because I think he knows that he has no chance, and there is a massive battle for currently what is going to be a 5th place, as Mike Bell shows himself in the mirrors. That's not a good place to attack. It's right before the castle section, and coming into the castle, Mike Bell going with not so very close, as Tomala hits the wall a little bit again, and not just barely holding on. I think he's going to be able to hold on to it.
Meanwhile, it's the final corner now. I'm sorry to interrupt there, but Maciej Winnick is just going to deliver another dominant performance. He crosses the line to win race 2. It's another brilliant race from Maciej Winnick, a double win. He takes the lead of the championship and he knows it. Flips the car over in celebration. That is a wild celebration if ever I saw one. Now, Daniel Brewer is going to cross the line in 2nd. There's chaos behind. Antonio Kralenovic has DNF'd at the end of the race. Brewer finishes 2nd. Schroten is going to come across the line in 3rd position now. And he's going to be followed across by the battle we just saw. Muscat, but who's going to get it for 5th? They bang wheels once. And Tumala gets it from Mike Bell. That was incredibly close. That was brilliant. Mike Quint is in 7th position now. Jack Mayer is going to cross the line in 8th. 9th is going to be Gerard Batalla, keeping it clean and quiet to bring it home in 9th position. Jean-Pierre Helpap is going to chase him home about 10 seconds behind in a good 10th position. I believe that's the Zederic car's best result of the year so far. So Jean-Pierre Helpap is going to weave it across the line in 10th position. Here comes another battle. Actually, not yet. Gerber's 11th first. And then it's going to be Bastian Peisler.
So
there he goes.
Just saying that I'm following the commentators, and I had the same feeling that crashing after the finish line is actually against the rules. So it could be a spot of trouble for Maciej Winnick, since he did it very much on purpose, and apparently David Junt has told Maciej not to do it, and he's still done it. So,
well, let's face it. Doing donuts in Formula 1 after the finish is illegal as well. And that is very much sort of the same sort of thing. No one ever gets a race taken away from them because of that. They often do get fined, but I reckon that we can overlook it. I mean, I'm not a race steward, but we'll see. Mark Fuller claimed 13th position. Ranjan Kumar 14th. Josh Downard 15th. So those are the final few points paying positions. Just outside of the points, a very unlucky Lewis Redshaw. And then it was Antonio Shralenovic who DNF'd on the last lap. James Lambert a lap down. Fabian Ruder a lap down, and then the other retirements of Adam Oscar, Bruno Cesar Ferreira, Stefan Roth, Lewis McGlade, Patrick Krause, Ben Supernek, Dawi Tapper, and Johan Lindberg. So a terrible day for Stefan Röhl, our previous championship leader, who has a double DNF. Now I'm going to look back at what happened to Antonio Kralinovic on that last lap of the race, because he suddenly DNF'd. While I'm looking back at this,
he lost the connection. He literally just put that in the chat. Apparently, he lost connection even though he had a backup phone data going on.
Yeah, that was a disconnection. Right, now we're going to get a couple of drivers in for some interviews after the race.
So, we don't have any interviewees yet. We have to give it a few minutes. So anyway, so we can give some thoughts about the races anyway. So what do you think, Josh?
So I think it was actually really rather interesting. So race 1, very, very tense, of course, with all of the brake failures. Very good performance from Maciej Munich, very dramatic in terms of the championship. The opening lap incident with Stefan Röhl having his wheel disconnection was extremely disappointing, of course, because that was not a realistic error that caused the big pile up. But whatever the case, that was the situation. And after that, I think it was actually a much better and a much cleaner race than we saw yesterday from Formula Challenge. Even with the brake failures, it wasn't so much drivers making silly moves or anything like that. It was a genuine race that could be taken seriously, as was race 2, except for one car going for about 20 flips. So I very much enjoyed today more than I did yesterday's Formula Challenge broadcast.
I think it was pretty interesting. I do regret having those crashes all over the place in certain areas. The brake failures were a bit odd, but that's something to do with the drivers. Just possibly having to look into it in the future. We have seen some failures earlier on this season already, but it was usually one driver possibly at most having one. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in the 2 interviewees so far that we have in waiting for us. And I'm going to start with our race winner from both races, Maciej Munich. So some incredible performances, having to start from 8th and 9th respectively for 2 races.
Yeah, quite. I think that happened only because I worked on setup with my teammate pretty hard and it paid off.
Well, it looks of it, you've been very fast all the way throughout the season so far, to be perfectly honest, and you will be leading the championship now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You were 1 point off your teammate right before doing the second race. You were 26 points behind before the racing started. So congratulations. But anything you'd like to say about the race? You had some battles going on in the early stages of both races.
Yeah, I had some battles, but I decided to take it fairly easy on the starts of both races, just not crash out, and it paid off. I was a bit quicker than others on the straight, so I felt it was quite easy for me to overtake on the straight, even without the DRS. So it seems like we balanced perfectly top speed on the straight and downforce in the corners.
Yeah, so that feels like it was definitely a good choice around here. You can't really overtake in the corners here, but definitely there's such a long straight that we've seen some drivers nearly struggling even on DRS to overtake some other drivers. It all came down to the setup nearly. However, big congratulations to you anyway, and hopefully your teammate will have a better luck next time around. I'm not entirely sure how your team is going.
He had some wheel issues twice, and I think itself turned to the left, and he went into the wall. So it's not his fault; it's his equipment.
Yes, we figured that out. He has told us that in the comment section. He has it definitely caused the first pileup in the first corner, so that was a bit sad to see after such a good qualifying as well.
Yeah, I was happy that I was on the inside, so I wasn't collected.
All right. Well, thanks for
Can I jump
that.
in there quickly?
Yeah.
So just before we let Maciej go, Maciej. So before this round, of course, your teammate Stefan was leading the championship. Now you're leading it. Do you see Do you see him as a rival?
Anytime, because when he's on the pace and he has no trouble, he's very dangerous driver.
Okay.
All right. Well, again, congratulations and thanks for the interview. And now we're going to move on to a driver who has had a pretty good race too, and a race one that was going very well until a certain moment, which has ended a race of multiple drivers. So let's start with the issue with the brakes, Roy. What happened?
I still don't know. It was quite scary. Now I know how it feels to lose the brakes. It was the first time it ever happened to me, and I just don't know. I never had any issues with it in previous races. I even added some more brake cooling to the car in this round, and still, just such a shame because I was driving so well and the car was feeling very good around this track, and I was in a flow, and then all of a sudden I couldn't brake and I went straight, and I immediately knew, and I found it too dangerous to continue driving the last 7 laps. It would have been too dangerous, so I felt far better of it and just retired the car. And then, yeah, that was quite a shame because I was running in 5th. I was looking good, so.
Yeah, one of the drivers I think had brake failure or suspension failure, one of the two, and then a few laps later he had a complete brake failure as well. So there were just it seemed like multiple drivers had some kind of an issue. But interesting enough, because obviously half the field managed nearly half the field managed to finish that race. Or thereabouts, and it just seems to be isolated to certain drivers, maybe just braking too hard.
I don't know. I really don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, just quickly on your second race, though, you finished quite well, to be honest.
Yeah, like I said in race 1 as well, the pace was there, and then in race 2, I had some contact at the start, and it damaged my car a little bit, so it felt a little bit funny, but still I could continue, and just being able to drive consistently, not driving into the walls like some other people did, and managing the tires as well. Yeah, the car is amazing, so I really didn't have to do that much, just staying out of the wall here. So I'm happy with the 3rd place, especially after race 1, and I've been on the podium every round here in this season, so shouldn't complain about that at least.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And thanks for the interview as well. And congrats on the podium. Now, another driver that had brake failure, but apparently managed to finish with it in the first race, Mike Bell. You mentioned that you had a brake failure and drove, was it 27 laps on the Super Stuff?
28, yeah. I got involved in the turn 1 wreck. I don't know who it was in front, but there was a crash and someone ended up rolling backwards across the track and they clipped me and I kind of got wedged. So I pitted on the first lap and just chucked on super sauce and enough fuel to finish the race and drove the rest of the way. And
seems to have worked for you.
3 laps from the end of the race, but I was already being careful on the brakes after I'd heard about 3 or 4 that had gone. So it went really early in the braking zone. I just went into the final turn. I just managed to cruise it to a stop and then just limped the car home. Still managed to finish 10th after everything was said and done. So really happy with that, all things considered.
It was lucky to be in a place where you could actually have a bit of runoff.
Brakes went at Melbourne as well, so I've had experience driving only with 3 working brakes, and it came in handy.
Apparently so. We had some drivers with, I think, complete failures as well this race. So interesting enough. And second race, you seem to be in a quite decent battle, I think, for what ended up being 4th.
Yeah, I'm really annoyed at myself for making a mistake once I got past Jason and let him back through, and then couldn't find my way past Tuamala. But yeah, it was really fun and probably the best finish since 2013. So yeah, really happy with that.
Well, congratulations! That was a very good race in the second, and good that you managed to finish the first race as well. So again, congratulations, good stuff from you. And now for our last and final interviewee, at least by the looks of it, James Lambert. So how were your races?
Well, it's my first race with the club and first time in the Super Cup, so I was looking forward to it. I had a interesting first race with the mess after turn 1, but fortunately got through that with only minor damage and up from 25th to 12th. Unfortunately, I took a knock from somebody further on the lap, and it gave me suspension damage, which resulted in a spin. Had to pit, and unfortunately, the car still wasn't fixed properly afterwards, so I had to sort of park it. It wasn't really drivable, which is unfortunate. Race 2 is a lot better since I managed to finish, which was my aim for the weekend. Was not qualify absolutely last, which I didn't, and finish at least one of the races, just for a first try.
Well, congratulations on having your first race. So hopefully we're going to see you in the future, and hopefully in a bit of better circumstances at this point. So let's. I think it's time to wrap up, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you tune in for the Super League show tomorrow, or the Super League broadcast rather. That will be at the same time tomorrow, about 7:40 p.m. to well, about now really, about 10:15 or sometime around then. Of course, you will have the great Jake Sanson and Joshua Anderson on commentary tomorrow, and I believe is it Gerrit de Vries on cameras. So anyway, that's going to be a good one. Round 3 of that championship, first time they've been to Baku as well. And make sure you subscribe to both the GPVWC and the Sim News TV YouTube channels so that you don't miss any more GPVWC action. I believe, yep, that is all we have time for today. So we'll see you tomorrow, I expect.